Here.
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Alder Wood is on his way.
He's excused. He'll be here shortly,
Okay.
or later.
All right, thank you.
I would entertain motion of approval of the minutes of the September 15th meeting.
So moved.
I will second that. Any corrections or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There's no one here this evening for the appearances section. There's no unfinished business this evening. Under new business, item 6A is consideration of resolution 14-10-1987, which is approval of participation in a Wisconsin Bureau of Transportation Safety grant titled 2015 Capital Area OWI Task Force. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that. Chief Estrenga? Oh. What titles do we have? I got to get all these new titles.
Sartennant.
Sartennant Weigel, welcome. And semi-congratulations.
So this is the 2015 Capital Area OWI Task Force. What that would involve is our participation with approximately 14 other agencies of Dane County, working a 5-hour traffic block for OWI enforcement. What Monona would accomplish out of this is 2 5-hour deployments in the city of Monona with 6 outside agencies working at the same time as 3 Monona officers. And we would get that on 2 different dates. And then for the other deployments, we would be going to those jurisdictions, such as McFarland or Sherwood Hills.
This is something we've done in the past.
This is not.
This is not. This is a unique new one. Is there any downside to not doing this?
There's some liability with doing it, in that we are.
We don't lack coverage when you're off in McFarland?
No, this is overtime.
Okay. And they recovers 100% of the overtime?
There's a 10% match,
Oh, 10.
hard cost, so it's a $5,000 grant. We would be responsible for $500.
Okay. Questions?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In terms of the revenue for the city from the OWI grant, would we receive the city receive our portion of the revenue still?
For the citations?
Yes.
When we are the host agency on the 2 occasions, all the tickets that night would go to the Monona court.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Oh, I've got, well, it's easier here. Acceptance of the general fund accounts payable checks dated September 13th through October 2nd, 2014. Is there a motion for approval? I will second. Mark?
Gonna go through this. It's gonna be a lot of, just in general, there's a lot of costs related to the cable equipment purchases, finishing up another park, and finishing up the library entryway. So page 1, B&H photo video, that is a cable purchase, media purchase. Page 3, Black Iron Supplies Company, just kind of the first one of these one hit, is just the Oneida Park Shelter. Page 4, Full Compass Systems. There again is cable purchases. We're updating all part of the approved budget.
Mark, the DWD, is that just our share of unemployment insurance, or what?
Yes. Well, DWD is at page, so make sure I tell you.
Page 4,
Page
Page
4.
4, yeah.
third one down.
That is our, I believe it's part of, there's 2 things in there. It's part of our insurance costs and it's part of, I'll take a look at it. We're paying for a couple of individuals in there.
Okay. Well, it's not, all right.
Page 6. This is for Wally. He's here because it's kind of go to his argument tonight. The Midwest Engine Services, squad engine replacement.
What vehicle?
That was from some time ago, right? That was
It was a
like 3
squad
months
that
ago?
was just, actually the engine was just replaced within the last 30 days, but the engine had gone out probably 120 days ago.
I think
Right.
that was in the Dodge.
Do we know which, was that the Charger?
Yeah, it
So-
was the oldest of the two Chargers.
I believe, I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, I wish you, yeah.
Oldest of the two Chargers.
He'll be able to answer that question at Committee of the Whole.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you want to go to page 10, Vanderwall, that's,
Page 9, total energy systems. What is that for the lift station? Oh. Right at the bottom of page 9.
yeah,
They must have done the maintenance on the
yeah, that's what,
lift station.
that's what it is. It's the maintenance that's required for the lift stations.
And you'll see one invoice is split between several accounts.
Okay.
And they were paid for by storm, mostly storm and sewer utilities.
And the next page too, there's the other lift station work.
Thank you.
Page 10, Vanderwall, the redevelopment services. Also on page 10, W.E. Davies, they're working on the police department remodeling project. Page 11, paving, Wolf paving. We just did the fire station, was just repaved. Page 12, American Arbitration Association. This is our share of the arbitration with VEET.
Wait, where are you?
Page 12, 2,850 for American arbitration.
Is there more of that, or is it was?
It was
I mean-
rescheduled for January. It was supposed to occur this month, and it's been rescheduled for January 18th and 19th.
And so,
The
Arbitration hearing.
arbitration hearing.
yeah. On top of that, the special assessments have been sent out.
Right.
related to-
With the notation that this pending, there's
arbitra-
pending
arbit-
litigation.
Yep, arbitration.
Have we heard back from anyone that they've read that? Okay,
Several people,
Some, yeah,
okay. So they're pulling for us.
Page 14, full compass system at the very bottom. Again, that's just a cable upgrade for the equipment. Again, a lot of it's just more cable on page 17 again.
And you've been tracking that against the pre-approved budget
Yep,
that it's tracking to plan?
currently it is, yep.
Okay.
New Egg Business on page 17, again, the media equipment.
On page 15, Jones Concrete, what is that for sidewalks, or what is that?
yeah, actually, our crew poured some, we have the capability of doing that in-house now, so our public works guys are forming and pouring concrete, curb and sidewalk.
But they didn't do the curb on Monona Drive, that,
No, they didn't do that one.
The bumper?
they should have.
Really?
Page 20, just kind of give you an update where Bill Cole is working on for us. Page 24.
Um,
23.
Page 23, it says bond, or bound tree medical, a couple of credits, and then an EMS equipment. Is this to,
This is part of their
It's supplies for the
supplies.
ambulance.
Yeah, I'm trying to think exactly what it was, but it's supplies and different little equipment.
new ambulance, probably?
No, it'll just be the current system, basically refilling and stocking stuff too.
Okay.
24, first one, Kurt. Hay bales, this is just costs related to the fall festival. A couple of down from there, Capital Steel, library entryway. As bills are coming in. Page 25, again, there's cable from Full Compass Systems. Goodrich trailers, a little further down, that was an approved capital item. Page 26, Madison Metro, Broadway water main. That project is starting to wind down. So
I wish that was true.
it's getting there.
It's lengthening.
Okay, page 29. Again, just Strand Associates, just a couple things they're working on for us. And then last page, page 30, or second, with paving again, this is our asphalt overlay, so it'd been like Dean and the other roads that were just finished.
Question for you on Strand on page 29. Some of the Broadway water main, is that funded through how's that funded? Is that anything that'd be TIF eligible, or?
That is actually funded by TIF
It is.
7, right? No, 6, TIF 6.
All right, thank you.
If I could follow up too on that Strand line item where it says digital sign engineering.
Yeah.
I was in contact with the school district in regards to moving the sign, and they're just looking for a site plan / drawing, and that's what that encompasses, is a site plan for the new placement of the existing sign.
And that sounds like it's going well, from what I hear.
It does. I spoke with Mark at the school district, and all they did was request the site plan to take to their board.
Okay, good.
That's all I have, unless you have other questions.
Very good.
Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Checks have been approved. Is there any miscellaneous business anyone wanted to bring forth? Hearing none, I would entertain
Adjourn.
a motion for adjournment. I will second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone. Oh. Are we, oh, that's right. Oh, okay. We're good to go? Okay. I would like to call together the City of Monona City Council Committee of the Whole for the first presentation of the 2015 capital budget. Unless we're gonna blow up. All right, do you call roll for committee of the whole meeting?
I don't have the agenda.
I certainly could.
Okay, please. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood?
Here.
Alder Spate?
Here.
Alder O'Connor?
Here.
Alder Holmquist?
Here.
Alder Thomas?
Here.
Alder Bussey?
Here.
Mayor Miller?
Here. Before we start, I just wanted to, I heard there was some question as the process, and unless somebody corrects me, I'm using the same process I've used the last 2 years, and staff said it was the same, that the mayor presents a budget. In this case, we start as we've done since I've been here. I do capital first versus operating, which will be forthcoming. So I'm not sure where the misunderstanding came that I'm presenting a budget. For the most part, the changes, or if there are changes between any of the committees and what I suggested, I will note, or the department head will also note those changes. So any questions about the process? All right. We will go on. Then I'd like to turn the floor over to the city administrator to tell, we're going to try to do it a little different this year.
Yeah, this year, so we have all the department heads there in case there's any questions that cross over departments or that this body wants to go back and discuss. We're going to have all the department heads here at once. What they'll do is they'll each give about a 10 to 15 minute overview, highlight the capital budget, what the committee has recommended, anything that the mayor has changed. The council, the committee whole has the opportunity to ask any questions. We'll try to stay somewhat to a timeline so that we can cover all the departments before 7:30. If not, the mayor has, and this body has the option to extend the meeting longer or cover the items under first read of the council, I'm sorry, of the item at council. So that's what I'd like to do, and so I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off and have Mark do the budget overview, and then we'll go into a few shorter presentations by myself on some of the smaller capital items. Mark?
Just going to do a quick presentation on the 2015 capital budget. Just kind of start off where we're at the debt limit. This is all based on 2015. So after everything's paid through 2014, we'll have a debt limit of amount available of $8,388,855. We are already with the TIF agreement. We have to pay out in 2015 $1.5 million, so we're available I'm just going to round up to 6.9 that's available. In this budget, the mayor budget that we proposed is proposing $4.3 million. So it leaves us with roughly $2.6 million to be used for either 2015 for any emergencies or anything directly TIF related, or helps us with the debt limit for 2016. What we're going to pay back in 2016, just as a guide, is $4.1 million in 2016. Breaking up our current debt, just so you can get an idea. We have 52, at the end of the year, we'll have $52,155,000 outstanding. As you can see, $21,000 is related to the city.
We're looking at something?
What are we looking at?
If we could have that on the overhead,
I'm sorry.
Hey, guys.
I didn't realize that wasn't up. I think my fault. I'll go back to this
Please.
page right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, please.
My-
No, it was there, and then,
I thought that was there when I first started.
Yeah.
So. So this is the page I was talking about before. So we had $8.4 million unused. TIF agreements we have to pay in 2016, or 2015 is 1.5. Available is 6.9. Closing roughly $4.3 million. Leave us available if needed. Pinch $2.6 million under the cap. 2006 repayment is $4.1 million. Here's a breakup of the city debt service. We have
go back.
Is that, the sixth repayment, is that TIF repayment, or is that,
City as a whole, all general obligation.
is that normal? Is that normally the level that we repay at?
Yeah, and I'll have a schedule coming up here.
Got it, thanks. Thank you. Yep.
Here's our outstanding debt as of, at the end of the year, we'll have, after everything's paid for this year, like basically 21 million in general obligation, which is city, related to city capital items. TIF 2, TIF 4 is about $7 million, which is London Advancement Overdrive. TIF 5 is Garden Circle, $10.5 million. TIF 6 is UW area in Meriter. TIF 7, that is Fairway Glen area. TIF 8 is down by Tresta. Then stormwater at 2.4, sewer 1.5, and water $1.2 million. So a net total of $52 million. We do have some revenue bonds that do not count against the cap, which is mainly water, which is $5.2 million at the end of the page. Here's our future debt payments. As you can see, 15, 4.2, 4.1. 2017, that was a little misleading because there is a bond balloon that comes due, so that number is probably around $4 million once we figure out how we're going to refinance that. 2018, 19, 20, 4.7, and 21 is 5. A lot of 18 through 21, there's a lot of utility-related, TIF-related payments there, so that's why there's an increase. So total in the next 7 years, we have $33 million going to be paid back.
And that's debt, principal, and interest?
That's just straight principal.
That's principal reduction?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Financial borrowing, TIF agreements, TIF projects, future capital projects, and emergencies in case we need that. For this, we're borrowing for 1 year. As you're aware of, the debt service is exempt from the levy limit. 2006 to 2011, we borrowed roughly $12.5 million. 2012, $5 million. 2013, 5.5, and last year, 3.1. That's kind of our history. As you remember, some of those years, a lot of it's Monona Drive, purchases in there too, and right-of-ways. The current 2015 proposed, there's just some larger items on the hit. Lattice Park, as you were, that's part of the Trace development. Schluter Park upgrades, that's $916,000. That includes the stormwater portion in here, so that's the shelter, not shelter, the restroom, the beach improvements, and the stormwater upgrades. $325,000 for street maintenance, $300,000 for cold storage. These are just larger items. $165,000 for the dump truck, $140,000 for the police car. We're redoing, City of Madison is redoing Tompkins Avenues, and this would be our portion if we agree to it, $80,000, and then $75,000 for building improvements. As far as the water utility, we will be looking for a rates increase in there, mainly because we're losing back the 10% in there, so we need to take a look at that and adjust those rates for that. Here's just the water rates current right now. The only one really large project in the water utility is the pump house upgrades. So basically $400,000, roughly $400,000 for the utilities, for water utility. Same thing with sewer utilities. Losing back in 10%, we really need to take a look at that and see what the rates are going to be for 2015. One proposed increase, $141,000 for the sewer utility. Stormwater utilities, right now we're reviewing the rates for 2014. That was part of the public works, and I looked at that. So there'll be some recommendations coming to the council fairly soon on that. Again, we borrowed $5 million since 2006 in the stormwater utility. Looking for the leaf truck, $160,000. Some various storm outfall projects, roughly almost $700,000. A lot of that's grant funded too. With that, Pirate Island dredging, engineering for that, roughly about $85,000. Schluter Beach, this goes with the first number I talked about, the $900,000. This is the stormwater portion of that. That we'll get into. As far as we already talked about any changes. The mayor did not make any changes from the approved committee budgets. There was one Was the addition of the dog park, but according to Jake, that wasn't the last approval of the park committee, so there was no deletions.
I changed the amounts on that and then moved from Schluter Beach that we did
We did that
swap it, but then they went back to the committee,
That was-
I believe, and the committee then reapproved after I made my changes.
The
So
final approval.
the final budget is the same, but I sent it back to the committees.
Correct. Options to think about, there's some half-mile tips. Right now, we don't really have much, but just something for the future. We look at repayment schedules for the utilities. If you're looking to reduce borrowing, there's things to think about, the public safety building or future tip projects to keep in the back of your head. What you want that. Have any questions?
Can we get a copy of?
Yeah, I can send it out. I'll send it.
Pat?
And if I could just expand on that, all the items that Mark discussed will be highlighted by the various department heads in more details. So I thought that was a good overview, though. Okay, well, if,
I have one question.
Alder Wood?
Mark, then if my math is right, we are going to have about 4 million, about 4.3 million in new borrowing and paying off about 4.2 million in 2015.
That's correct.
Okay.
Further questions? No. Pat?
okay, moving on, I'm going to highlight the City Hall, IT, Library, and Senior Center capital budgets. Eric is also here in case there's any questions, but there's very few library items, so I told him I would just take that. On page 23 of your book, the first item, administration upgrades. One is information technology upgrades. That's the general cycle we're on for the computer and the hardware repurchases throughout all of staff. It's on page 24 of your document. As you can see, there's really no major expenditure out of the ordinary. The one thing that is in there that has been in there in the past and you guys have taken out have been the iPads. As you know, we've tried to go paperless in the past unsuccessfully, and I'm giving it another attempt this year. I'll just go through the items and then see if you have any questions in those various departments. The second one is a telephone system. $75,000 is sort of a placeholder. We've received a couple estimates ranging from about $58,000 to $65,000. Many of you do know, some of you don't, that our telephone system right now is basically obsolete. It cannot be serviced. This does not include dispatch. So any downtime on our phone service would be significant in terms of getting the equipment, finding it from maybe a secondhand dealer or something like that. So this is really a critical purchase at this time. We're looking at a voice-over type system that would tie into our into the internet and to our website, which would be much more up to speed with current technology. So
And just, if I might add, it doesn't affect 911 call center, but it does affect the police department's telephones,
that's correct, non-emergency.
non-emergency phones. So there is a police and fire element to this,
Yeah.
albeit it shouldn't affect dispatch.
Correct. And then the last one there is an accounting system. This is a finance system that Mark could speak to if anyone has any questions. But one of the major components in there, and a lot of time-consuming labor is done on our payroll, our current payroll. Leah Kimmel spends significant amount of time on that twice a month. This would reduce the manual input and would mainstream pretty much everything in terms of our financial capabilities. So,
And we built the online too.
yes.
Correct. Questions of the admin?
One.
Yes, Alderwood?
In your list for the IT capital budget, although you said you were gonna take another shot at the iPads, it's not listed in your 2015 proposed.
Actually, it shows there is 2014 proposed. You're right, that should be moved up
Okay, so
to 2015.
then just add 4,000 to the bottom line of that.
Yes, yeah, that's my mistake. Okay, moving.
Mayor know about those?
I think he did.
Okay, all right.
And it's not necessarily iPads, as we've discussed in the past. It could be something that's similar, does the same thing, but we'll exhaust all the options out there before a decision's made, if this body approves it. Page 27 is building. City Hall. This facilities rehabilitation. In the past, we've done some what I would deem as cosmetic upgrades to police, City Hall, and the fire department. This would be basically the money that would keep the building in its current condition for another year or so. So that's where that is. This year, we're using some of the facilities money, actually a significant amount of the facilities money for the radio station upgrade in the small conference room area. So.
Questions on that? Alder Holmquist?
And maybe it will come up a little bit later. Would this include other locations in the main campus area, such as some parts of the community center that has some water damage issues?
Exactly. We're looking to do some upgrades to the senior center location, which you're noting, and as I mentioned before, the parts that aren't City Hall specific, police and fire.
Okay. It
Anything
would come
else.
from this.
Yeah, and actually the painting of the hose tower, if you guys have noticed, the hose tower is a major project that we'd like to get done prior to the installation of the antennas, if possible. If not, we can do it after the antenna installation for the radio station.
I think clarification, your question, it does not include, as you'll see in here from the police chief does have a remodel budget for specific remodeling of the police department. So this is outside of police or specific fire.
But it does include some work to like the bay areas and stuff. So. Okay, moving along, the next one is the library, and as mentioned before, Eric's here. Very limited,
Page.
105. Last year, the furniture replacement was taken out in large part due to the cost overruns. Okay. Oh, you are ordering some, so this is additional then. There was some discussion about the parking lot and its current grade, how it's difficult in the wintertime for some people walking up and down that hill in slippery conditions. So there is going to be a study done to look at the options there in terms of tiering that parking lot. And then the last thing is library ceiling fan installation, and it's pretty straightforward. Any questions on that?
Just on
Alder
the,
Bussey.
on the ceiling fan install, I mean, you can't balance that with a HVAC contractor, can't,
We've struggled over the last 10 years to get, we have hot spots, cold spots in the building, so what we're hoping to do with the ceiling fans is just to get air circulated, lower our costs, cooling within the building.
I take it these things are pretty quiet?
Yes.
And again, that is the name of the company, so it's not a
I
joke.
was-
But they really are big-ass fans, really. I mean, I don't remember having this discussion about the sizing of these
These are the
fans.
smallest ones that we have. We have two medium to small ones in the main part, Main Street, as you go towards the windows.
Okay.
These small things.
Because I've never seen them less than like 30-foot blades. Okay.
These are not the ones where you go to the airport and you see the ones.
All right, so they'll be fitting of the decor somewhat. Okay.
Moving along to page 117, Senior Center, and I'm covering for Diane, but I'm sure Alder Holmquist may want to speak to this if there's any questions, but upgrade to the tables and chairs down there, and a mounted projector, $14,500 total for the Senior Center. Actually, the projector we may move to the IT budget, and just to simplify things.
Question?
There was two other items that we discussed, but not, we discussed underneath miscellaneous conversation, and one had to do with the concern with the facility in the director's office of some significant water damage, and it sounds like that would be in that other budget area.
Actually, we're going to try to resolve that under this year's capital building fund, but if not, it would be in next year's, in that line item.
And then there was one other, and that had to do with bathroom accessibility and the location of the primary one that would need a caregiver is close to the main area, but that one doesn't have any accessibility feature to enter, and we were looking at that, so if we could get those numbers.
Yeah, that's an automatic door that we would have installed this year also under our current budget. So.
Thanks.
Further questions? Okay, next.
All right, next is the Fire Chief, Chief Sullivan.
And if you can always shoot up pages, everyone, is for your budgets for us, please.
39 starts fire.
Mine are coming up different than your, I've got this as page 37. First off is the personal protective equipment. It's an ongoing purchase as we get new people and new fires. We need to purchase new.
We'll scoot that over. Thank you.
We need to purchase new equipment. Personal protective equipment. This is anything from the self-contained breathing apparatus to the bunker gear to boots to helmets. So that's $10,000.
Can I just hold you for a second? Guys in the studio, what's being fed to the public? What are we seeing if I'm at home? No, maybe you want to.
Yeah, the projector is not what you're seeing. I can change.
So what, I guess I just want to know what the public is.
The public is seeing our camera feeds.
So they're seeing the.
So they're seeing the people. Is that what we want them to see, or do we want, can you bring up these summary sheets?
Okay, it's up to you guys.
What are your thoughts, the council, in terms of what the public would benefit from most?
All this is.
Sheets, I think sheets. Yeah. So Mark, do you mind bringing those sheets up as we go along? So, thanks guys, sorry.
I have a face for radio.
Sully.
That's all right. You want me to hold off until they get that up, don't you?
No, we can
Okay. Okay, next up is multi-gas detectors. These are the 4 gas detectors that we use anytime we have a situation with unknown situation in a building. We also use it for anytime we do salvage and overhaul. We test the CO levels in a building, so that's $1,600 for 2 of them. Third up is the chevrons for the rear of the ambulance, or the rear of the fire trucks, I'm sorry. The rear of the ambulance already has it. It's a safety item that is now, any new vehicles are required to have the chevrons on them. So we're updating our current fleet to have chevrons on all of them. That's $7,000. Replacement of 1 3/4 hose. Most of the hose the 1 3/4 hose that we have is approximately 20 years old. So, as we test every year, we lose more and more sections of hose because it no longer holds up. So $1,500 for that. Positive pressure ventilation fan replacement. That's so that when we do have a structure fire or burnt food or anything like that, we can ventilate the building and get some fresh air in there, get the smell of smoke out. That's $2,400. And then the big ticket item is the vehicle exhaust system. This is an exhaust system that hooks to each of the trucks that's in the larger bay, and it automatically, when you pull out of the station, it automatically detaches from the truck and ventilates all that diesel fumes that currently now are going just into the apparatus bay. It'll actually exhaust it right out the end of the building, so much safer for our personnel. We keep some of the career firefighters and some of the volunteer firefighters keep their firefighting gear at the station. That is then being, the soot settles on the equipment, and it's just all around safer for that. As mentioned before with the public safety building, if that does go about, this is a movable system that we can take it from our current location and move it to wherever we would need it. That was one of the major things that we wanted to make sure that we had with that. So that's $62,000. And last but not least is what's called on-spot vehicle chains. They're chains for the engine that it's kind of an on-off button. You flip the button on and it'll drop the chains and it spins, gives traction to the vehicles. With the winters that we have around here, it's nice to have the ability to have chains and not have to jack the truck up each time that we want to put chains on the truck, and then the next day it warms up and we're jacking the truck back up to take the chains off so we're not wrecking the tires. This is an on and off with a button, and they're hanging underneath the truck all the time. So any questions on the fire budget?
Alder Bussey?
The exhaust system is something new. It's not a replacement, correct?
Correct.
And
there is a former system that was in that, more of a Band-Aid. It was a single fan exhaust that was at the rear of the station, and it's not sufficient to what we need for those vehicles. I mean, it's like an exhaust fan on the in your bathroom, as opposed to.
But I mean, and I'm asking questions, but we've had it for decades. We've had that system, correct? Is it resulted in high CO2 levels, or?
We've actually had it for about 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit long. I've been here just over 4, so I'm not exactly sure when it was put in.
5
years.
years.
5 to 7 years, somewhere around there.
But I mean, have levels increased? I understand the soot, but
I don't know that they have increased. What we've done is now we carry CO monitors on the for the med bags that the crews take into residents, and those CO monitors are going all the time. The guys started one of the vehicles up. They needed to put a longboard in the ambulance. By the time they put the longboard in the ambulance and went back in to get into the truck, the CO monitor was going off.
Okay.
And that's happening, as it was shared with me, that's happening a lot.
It Yes. So these are hooked up. As soon as you back up to the door, somebody hooks it up, and you back into the station. So it uses it both backing into the station and pulling out of the station.
Thanks, Chief.
Further questions?
Okay. EMS budget.
Page, next page, 49.
First up is the ambulance cot replacement, the stretcher replacement. we will take the current one that we have, which will be 6 years old, and move it over into the reserve ambulance, and the new one will go in Medic 60. Like I said, it's 6 years old. Any patient that we transport to the hospital gets transported on this. So a 6-year-old cot is getting up in age, so we want to make sure that we've got, and it'll be identical to the one that we currently have. We're not upgrading or doing anything elaborate. This is
what they cost.
this is what they cost. They do have what's called it's a load system that the crews can just push the cot up to the back. The load system with the cot is about $32,000. So we are just going with the cot as of right now. I don't anticipate us getting the load system until we possibly get a new ambulance. So next up is the Tough Book computer replacement. We're looking at a couple of different, it's not necessarily a Tough Book, but it's a computer that's in the ambulance. That's what we get our CAD from the county, and it keeps track of times, when they pull it up, they can see everything that the dispatcher sees on the call. So next is tablet replacement. Tablet replacement is like the tablet I have here. We're looking for a new one to upgrade it for the crews to do their patient care reports, their fire inspections, pre-plans, all that type of stuff. And next up is the, did I have?
That's it.
That's it, that's what I thought.
Questions on it? Alder O'Connor?
I just have a question about the stretcher. Is there actually something wrong with the stretcher?
No, it's just getting older, and it's, so that, over the years, like the pad gets used, it's not as durable. It's the shocks that as you can raise a patient's back up, it's not as strong. It's just overuse over the 6 years. It's every patient that goes to the hospital on that cot. So
Is the pad something you can replace?
you can replace the pad, and we do, as they wear, we do replace those, but it's a scissors type lift, so that as it's coming up, there's bearings there. We have the stretcher gone through every year. We have a maintenance plan on it, and they recommend that you replace them about every 6 years. So
Is there any value in
we'll keep
62's old one?
Not really. We can put it out there, but it's
Pennies on it,
we actually got that one used when we purchased it. So
Okay.
it was.
Further questions? Alder Holmquist?
I thought, it might have been last year, or the year before, there was a conversation regarding the aspect of putting it into the truck and the trying to limit the amount of stress placed on people putting the stretcher into the truck. Can you go through
Yep.
that? Because I heard you say that this doesn't include all of those features, but
Correct, and it's a load system that you would just push the stretcher up, it hooks onto the stretcher, and then it automatically loads the stretcher right into the ambulance. Madison has a few of them. I know McFarland's looking at purchasing some of them. It is something that, if you prevent one back injury, it's worth it. After talking with our personnel right now, we've got a fairly young group of firefighter paramedics, and they'll call out the fire department to help with lift assists and that type of stuff. We just, at this time, we didn't feel it warranted the extra cost for it.
Any additional questions? Seeing none,
All right, we have police department and dispatch.
Chief?
That's 29.
You probably just want to skip this first item and not even talk about it.
I
In
guess
an effort to speed up the meeting, but
I will jump in to help that. You were given out a sheet of paper that, I warn you, it's this one that has mileage on them. This, unless it's changed but I do stress this is 5-week-old, 6-week-old data. So this is what I use. I just want to know how many vehicles we own, how old they are, who drives them, and I kind of tasked the department heads, if you can ditch an old vehicle, we're still paying insurance. Some of these are hand-me-down squads that we don't pay anything for, but we still have an ongoing cost with car insurance, and if we really don't need a vehicle, I've asked that they be dispensed with, so I'm not aware of those being dispensed. Alder Holmquist?
I know that the mechanic's done a nice job with the mechanic rating form.
Yep.
Is that able to be
That's-
added to the spreadsheet?
We should have that, I think, or I had that, and,
yeah, in the handout you received.
yeah, we should have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
But
the
not
hand,
for all vehicles?
That's for police.
But if a vehicle's being replaced, we'll get that, like on lawnmowers and things in Jake's budget, we have those. So we didn't do that. I'm not looking to replace vehicles, if departments aren't asking for replacement vehicles, I'm not.
And I'm not
Yep.
either. All I'm suggesting is when we use that, there's more than just age and mileage.
Correct. This was just an I didn't care about the mileage. This is just, so you know,
How many?
if I would ask you how many vehicles do you think we own, is there anyone here? I didn't, I was clueless, so this just gives you some consideration how many vehicles we own in the city. So that's all it's intended for. Yes, Dan?
If I could answer Alderman Holmquist's question, I don't know if the other departments adopted that rating form, that's the Public Works adopted program. Ron can easily do it for any other piece of equipment that we have it already established, so.
Did he keep doing it though, even though Jake, his Parks and Rec have taken over? He was doing it on Parks and Rec equipment.
But I don't know if he's done it for police department, but he can just.
Okay, excuse me.
so to be serious like this, the first item on the police is squad cars and equipment for $140,000. This is to replace 4 vehicles that are currently in our fleet: a 2010 Ford Crown Vic, a 2006 Chevy Tahoe, a 2006 Ford Escape, and a 2007 Ford Explorer. Even though the Tahoe, which is a 2006, actually went in service in 2005, and the Ford Explorer, which is a 2007, went in service in 2006. Both the Crown Vic, and this is mileage on your sheet that I handed out before that I highlighted before that we're replacing. At the time we did this survey back in August, it had 128,000 miles on it. The Tahoe had 105,000 miles on it. The Crown Vic has been in the shop for a blown engine since probably August, and is still at the shop trying to work the bugs out of it. So even though we've replaced it with a new used engine, it's past its time. Once you hit over 80, 90,000 on a squad car, it's way too far. It comes down to a safety issue for both the public and the officers. For example, last Friday we had a search warrant with another agency. We pretty much had all hands on deck. We had an officer going to downtown for Justice with a Cure. We didn't have a car for the school resource officer to use, and we had another car with mechanical issues. We had 3 cars down, even though we have 12 cars. It sounds like a lot, but 3 cars were down. The day before we had 4 cars down. And today, we still have 2 of these cars down.
Thank you.
Not to harp too much on the Chevy Tahoe, but it's been in service since 2005. And even though the motor is strong on that vehicle, it gets to a point where it's out in the weather so much that the wiring starts to decay, so to speak. And we're looking at possibly having to get a loaner light bar make it last another year, because the light bar went out on it just this last Friday. If there's any questions on vehicles, otherwise I'll move on. Alderman Wood actually had some questions in his emails, which I've attached, and he summarized what we've done for like the last several years. We had 9 cars budgeted in 7 years, but we were able to get 11. One of them was a used one. 2 cars. 2 years we had no cars we weren't allowed to purchase. And based on the mechanics evaluation and my evaluations of the cars using the public works sheets, we're proposing replacement of 4 cars. 2 immediately and 2 are qualified for replacement. At some point, it keeps catching up to us every time we don't purchase cars. So if we get 4 cars in 2015, we'd sort of be up to speed, and then in the future, we'd only have to get probably 2 cars a year. That was the plan. And that's how we have it proposed in future budgets through 2016, 17, 18, is 2 cars a year. Questions on cars? The next item is portable radios. We started a plan 3 years ago to start replacing our 20 portable radios over a 4-year period. The original plan was to replace 5 portables a year. However, the prices came in higher than expected. We were able to get some grant money to replace 1 radio last year, so now we're proposing $15,000 to replace just 4 radios, and that will bring us up to speed with all our portable radios for the police department. The next item is taser replacements. There's 2 tasers we'd like to replace a year for the next couple of years. They've all basically, they still work at this point, except for one. But the repair costs, you cannot get them repaired anymore. So these are roughly, with all the accessories that we get on them, including the taser, the holster, the camera, and cartridges, come out to about $2,000 each. The next item is police squad laptops. These are the 2 laptops we'd like to replace, have been in service since 2011. We usually get 3 to 4 years service out of them, so we'll be coming up on 4 years, and they come in at about $4,700 each. I've looked at tablets. It's just that, and iPads, the technology for squad car, for the equipment we run through them, just isn't there right now. I'm expecting in the next year or so Panasonic is going to come out with a tablet that will hopefully replace the laptops. The next item is police radar units. We have several of our radar units are excessive 8 years old. They're pretty much used every day, and we're proposing two replacements for $6,000. The next item is police station remodel. If maybe you recall, last year I'd asked for $50,000. It was reduced down to $26,000. This is for move the 2 interview rooms, do a little bit of remodeling to the kitchen area. We moved some doorways around. We were able to, if you get a chance, please come through the police station. I'd be glad to show you. It's really looking good. But we ran out of money, so this funding would take care of doing the cabinetry, the electrical, the plumbing, to the area where our sink is, the refrigerator, so that we can have a usable kitchen area. We do have people that are in there 24 hours a day. Many times, like for dispatch, for example, they can't leave or go down to the fire station like some of our officers can. So we'd like to have a usable place for folks to eat their lunches. And if there's any contingency funds left over, the supplemental funding would be to complete the security in the ammo room. We had moved the doorway in the ammo room. We were trying to put some fencing in there so we could have the ammunition behind a locked fence, and then also have an area where officers, if they chose to purchase their own rifles throughout the squad, which seems to be the trend, so they'd be more comfortable with it in an emergency, they could have a place to lock up their rifles.
I really suggest you take him up on the offer for the tour of what was done, especially if you had been in there before and have some remembrance, because it's radically changed. And as Chief walks you through, I think he can explain the logic and how it was like no-brainer now that the flow and the pattern, traffic patterns are much better, so you should do that.
Yeah, it's a much safer environment now. We have, the video system we put in there is the same video system we put in our squad cars. It's the Panasonic arbitrator system. And basically, instead of having an officer have someone put them in the interview room and then go back into the briefing room, load a DVD or a CD, whatever we call it, to burn the interview, and then hope that there's enough time to go back in and finish it before it burns out. Now they just basically walk up to the door, they push a button, it starts recording 30 seconds before they get there, and when it's completed, they push the button again, and it turns it off, but it runs an additional 30 seconds. It's all on our same server, same system as we have now for our squad cars. The last item is a police radar recorder to record traffic speed and volume. I believe Alderman Wood came up with the nickname for our first one, called the Gizmo. That one, it's become so outdated, it will not work with anything beyond Windows XP, and there's no updates or text service, so we're proposing a new one for $4,231. That's all I have for
Questions of the chief? If I could just jump in on the squads. This is not budgeted in there, and I've not had an opportunity to have a conversation with the chief, but Administrator Marsh attended a national conference last month. They had a trade show, and they had squad cars on display, and they had CNG squad cars. And so I asked Pat to get some pricing, and there's an incremental cost, but having one of the, I guess we're not the only CNG station in town, but very, very efficient. And I asked Chief to look in to see if there would be any vehicles other than Chevrolets, which is what Pat saw at the convention. And are you aware of any other they're the only CNG?
There's none available in like a police package at this point. The Impala that Pat sent the picture of, that would actually be an administrative car. It has the gear shifter in the middle.
Okay.
So it's not really set up for law enforcement use.
Darn. Because I thought this would give us a step towards having real squad cars that provided what the police department wants, but being more in line with our commitment to sustainable vehicles. So
I have found some agencies that are using propane, that have been able to retrofit some of their squads for propane. But again, just like the CNG, they have to add a tank in the back.
Okay, thank you.
Watch,
Other question, Alder Bussey?
Chief, like the Gizmo, this is a pole mounted, it's not the mobile one. I've been in communities, and when you go over a certain limit, some of them flash red and blue. I'll tell you, that's a real attention getter. When the red and blue kicks in, people become numb to the, yellow to whatever color, but when the red and blue goes off.
That particular item would be closer to what we have on Nichols Road, and as you come to the park, that's pole mounted. I don't know if that has that accessory to add to those or not.
Just as you're shopping, yeah.
This is basically a black box that we mount on a pole, and it's supposed to collect traffic data without letting people know they're really
I got you.
counted. It gives us a better example of what people are doing.
Further questions?
Thank you.
Is dispatched.
No, but on this?
Oh, no, okay.
Anything else on that? Okay, Chief.
Okay, for the dispatch budget,
What page, Mark?
the number one item, which we've been asking for a couple of years now, and now our hand is sort of being forced, is that we really need a new copying machine in dispatch. The current one that we're using is the old one that we got from City Hall, and its lifespan has run out. Gordon Flesch will no longer write a service agreement on our current one beyond, I believe, November of 2014, so it's done. The purchase of this machine with the accessories we're asking for would also, we've deleted it from 2016 already, but a future fax and digital sender. A digital sender basically is you put a document in and it sends it out as a PDF. So this particular machine, the total cost would be $10,200. and it would replace our copy machine with a similar unit that's able to be a network copier, a printer, a faxer, and a scanner. The next item is the dispatch radios. Obviously, you know, I'm sure we've talked about DaneCom and the radio systems enough to put everyone to sleep, but we operate on the police side on the 800 megahertz system, which is what our portables and squad car radios are, which is on the Madison system. And this is to replace the 3 800 megahertz radios that are used in dispatch. There's 2 that are in the back room that are hardwired into our consoles, and then there's a third one that is sort of a standalone unit on one of the counters, so we can switch back and forth to different frequencies. We need to, this will complete all of our upgrades to the 800 radios that we have, because Madison is going to be upgrading to digital probably in the next year or two, and all our radios need to function on that system. The third item is a security monitor upgrade. This would be replace the 2 security monitors that were originally installed in 2010, which dispatch looks at, and the total project cost would be $2,500. So that's $900 for each monitor, roughly $100 for 2 brackets, and $500 for installation. A new item, because I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but it's probably never going to happen in my lifetime. So that's why we've been trying to upgrade our police department and dispatch center. So I'm proposing $25,000 to start the first of 2 phases to remodel the dispatch center with new counters and cabinets, make it more usable. Some of the counters are, the edging is broken off and could pose an injury risk. There's a lot of wasted space where I think more modern cabinetry, storage, and shelving could improve the way things are done. And again, just as the mayor mentioned about coming for a tour of the police department, please come through dispatch, and I'd be glad to show you what we're proposing to do.
Chief, on that, and I'm sure you shared it with me, I just didn't recall the statement that this is the first half of a 2-phase project. Is that reflected in the 2017 numbers then? So we go 2 additional years?
16.
No, 17. There's nothing in 16.
Yeah, 2016, I have security glass for $15,000. The entryway where you go through is basically open. A lot of times we'll buzz people in for the public. We'll have people coming through to sign off on bond receipts, post bond. I'm trying to add more security, similar to what we did for City Hall, and put some glass between that entryway so someone can't just...
So that's what you meant, that's the second half to this first? Okay,
yes.
I just didn't remember that part of the conversation. And then in 17, you have a substantial, and I know we don't go that far out totally, but...
Well, 16 is a big one too, because we're looking at a 911 system hardware refresh.
No, but I'm just in remodeling. I assumed your point when you said in your lifetime you won't see a new police department is what you were inferring?
I'm not going to be here forever, but I'll be here for at least a couple more years.
No, I think your statement was well put, but I just wanted to make sure what's half of a project or what's a third of a project or all of a project. So it's either half or a third this year. All right.
And the last item I had on there was actually moved to the building capital. It was some sort of office furniture that was taken off.
Alder Wood?
Just had a question on the security monitor upgrade. Will those also record at least some amount of time so that if you need to go back and look at something that happened?
Well, these are just the monitors. We, in 2014, we did an upgrade on our security recording device,
Okay.
so that is up to speed now. Before, we were limited to, I think, 12 or 16 cameras. Now, I think we can add up to 64. So one of the projects that we still have to do for 2014 is add some cameras at the community center and Public Works. And those are all IP cameras, so anywhere you have a internet connection, you can add a camera at this point.
And if something did happen, we'd have a digital recording for at least some period of time.
Yes.
You could access.
Alder Holmquist?
And this is a question I've asked in the past regarding copying. And that's the issue of lease versus purchase, and just to make sure that we're exploring options for things that might be cheaper to have on a lease basis. But I know that dovetails with the whole issue of service contracts, and there's an operational component and how that all fits together.
Sure. I mean, we've had the discussion before of why aren't we buying squad cars out of operations, because we dispose of them after a couple of years. As opposed to capital.
We do, we bond them that way.
Right.
Additional questions? All right, thanks, Chief.
Jake, you're up. I want to note, too, that everybody else is stuck to their timeline, so, yeah.
19, Mark?
First off, I just want to say, you've heard it from me before about Park and Rec doing our part to make Monona a great place to live, work, and play. I think that this past weekend, I really want to give kudos to Mayor Miller and the rest of the elected officials that spent a lot of time helping out on our Monona Fall Festival. And a 2-day event. It was really awesome to see so many of you guys there putting in a lot of effort. So kudos to you guys for rolling up your sleeves and making it awesome. So thank you.
It was fun.
And I had my other 4 pockets on.
Who are you in the Dells?
So for the parks capital budget, we'll go quickly through this. Lottis Park, momentum's really rolling with our grants that we got through RVF grant and Dane County Parks grant. So that project's #1 on our priority list, and I think we've talked about it quite a bit. As far as what we're looking at doing there, it's really going to be, I think, the highlight and one of the top boat launches probably in the state. It's all said and done, completed.
And can you just share that line, and Mark, if you need to jump in, just for the viewers, it's a huge number, but the other revenues that's paying for that, just in case public's not aware?
Yeah.
I can explain. So the $800,000 in other revenues is $500,000 from the recreational boating facilities grant, $150,000 from the Dane County Parks grant, $125,000 from the Traced Parkland dedication amount, and $25,000 from the newest Monona Drive apartment complex and the additional units that are going to be put there. So that's where the other revenues are coming from. A large amount of the project is also eligible for TIP funding, so we'll be working with Mark on how to balance that all out with the grant awards and TIP funding. So the actual goal bonds that we're anticipating is $100,000.
500,000.
Sure. Second is a Parks and Recreation vehicle truck. Basically, that would be for my use, being able to oversee park operations, for our special events, hauling supplies and equipment. That would include a utility trailer as well. That we can just kind of couple with another project on the community center. But
And this is noted, or I'd like to note, that it's not that Jake actually requested this, but our insurance providers have considered, because Jake, for the last few years, has been using his personal vehicle for a lot of city duties, and there's a liability concern with our insurance provider. So this is, it's not that he wants a new truck. It's that we need to not have him driving his own truck.
Winnequa Park engineering is really, we've done a lot of master plan with Winnequa Park, and this year we're really looking at doing public input sessions using city staff to help with the planning process. We have a lot of ideas for Winnequa Park. It's our central park, and we're looking to prioritize those projects for future improvements. So it could include dredging of the lagoon, a walk path through the park, extension of the northern part of the park for a soccer field area, ice skating operations. There's a lot of projects that people have talked about. We talked about at the Parks and Rec Board level, but we want to be able to prioritize those projects and then do a phase 1 engineering next year. for phase 1 construction the following year in 2016. 12-foot riding mower is, we have two 12-foot mowers in our fleet. The 12-foot mower that's being asked to be replaced was basically down this entire year. There's a major mechanical issue that was going to cost $3,000 to $5,000 to repair. When we're able to have two 12-foot mowers tied in with our two 6-foot mowers, especially during our peak mowing operation, we can effectively mow the city in 3 to 4 days. When we don't have that 12-foot mower, it's between 4 and 5 days. And so that's really an efficiency item to be able to speed up efficiency and be able to work on other park maintenance options. With that dollar amount, we are looking at the alternative fuel options for a mower to make the CNG mowers, and so we will have that flexibility when we go out for bid on the mowers. Park erosion control, west side of the lagoon, that's coming back after, I think, a couple years that was put in and reallocated. On the southernmost tip between Winnetka Road, there's about 175 yards of shoreline that doesn't have any riprap at all. And so we're seeing a lot of erosion and loss of actually parklands. So when we did a survey, that last property between Winnetka Road and the park, we don't have that anymore. There's no access. So this would be to repair that shoreline restoration with riprap on the bottom up to the water height, and then a vegetative erosion control measure that we actually see above the water line. Schluter Park, restroom design and construction. It is part of a overall project that Dan will talk about in his segment as far as the stormwater and the channel reconstruction. Anyone that's visited Schluter restrooms in the last couple of years probably can attest to the condition that they're in. And we really see Schluter Park as a destination point, especially with the Lake Monona bike route that's being as popular as it is. A lot of people stop by on weekends. In my notes in the narrative, I did say that the construction cost would probably be closer to $350,000, and that would be counting on a $100,000 grant. There's two separate grants that we would be aiming for on this project. One would be the Dade County Parks grant. The other would be a stewardship grant, and also probably looking into some biking grants.
We need to talk. Park grants are coming to an end.
Oh, no.
But to be replaced by bike grants, so it might be even better news for us.
So on the talks with the mayor and the park board, really want to make this a bike hub destination. There's a recent restroom facility built in Pittsburgh on the Capital City Trail that has some bike amenities, a bike repair station, air pump, water bottle filler. I think that's the way to see grant funding for this type of project, because I think we can all agree that that park is a regional draw for people coming through Monona, whether they're on bike or foot. And it would be basically a restroom replacement, so no shelter attached to it, and still maintaining the views of the lake that you have from the parking lot. We also wanted to combine this project with the channel restoration and try to do the whole project in one season where we won't have an impact on the park in multiple years.
Alder Bussey?
Is your cost estimate derived from internal, or did you look at what Pittsburgh paid for theirs?
Pittsburgh paid about $270,000 for theirs, but their low bid forgot many items on their bid sheet, and so they basically got a heck of a steal. That 350 is closer to...
Well, it wasn't so much a heck of a steal, because I asked Jake to go chase that one, because I was pretty impressed with that one when I heard the numbers. They had to put additional money, so it wasn't as, the bid came in low, ridiculously low compared to the other bidders, and they had to make up because they didn't put tires on the car kind of bid.
I'm just looking at the facility though, and you know, the corrugated aluminum roofing, which isn't something that which would be a change for what we've been doing. So
yeah,
I just was hoping that we had our own internal takeoff on that.
Yeah,
And
it's-
if it's gonna be 350, you're assuming you're gonna get the 100 grand in a grant is what you're looking for.
correct. I mean, it'd be closer in line to what the dollar amount is for the Oneida shelter that was built. The main structure where the base of your money is in your restroom facility anyway. And that kind of dollar amount is in line with what we've been seeing as construction costs coming in higher and higher the last several years as the industry has picked up again.
For Lattice, you showed other revenue as the grant, but here you're netting it, so you're, correct? So
Yeah.
it's really 350 plus 100 grand in the grant is what you're hoping to get.
When we first got the directions, the grant was 250, so these, it's really kind of subject to,
Well, we just need to be consistent, but
yeah.
it's 250 is what I approved
That's what you-
with the assumption of he needs to get a grant, so,
Whatever, we should be consistent.
just so we're consistent.
Any questions on projects to date? Woodland Park Management Plan, ongoing efforts. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel at Woodland Park. We did a lot of work this last year with our urban forestry grant and our super volunteer, John Traver, spending a lot of time and donations to make that park what the original, I think, vision of this board was back in 2005 when the management plan was approved. This is continued management plan efforts with chemical treatment of invasive weeds and buckthorn, prescribed fire, to maintain that. Wildhaven Park, engineering, a lot of discussion at the Park and Rec Board level at Wildhaven Park this year with the construction adjacent to the park. Brought a lot of attention to kind of the hidden gem, I guess, of one of the best views of the Capitol, I think, that you can find if you visit Wildhaven Park. And so this would be an engineering plan to receive public input and look at future improvements to that park, which would mainly be focusing on the shoreline, shoreline erosion control measures, safe passage down to the park, and an accessible route to the water view.
Oh, Alder O'Connor?
I just wanted to comment that the park board ranked this number 3, and I noticed that isn't indicated here, but, and Jake's right, there's been a lot of concern about Wildhaven, I've been hearing a lot about it. The shoreline erosion is really bad there, and I don't know how much longer we can wait. And there's also a stairway that's used quite heavily, especially in the winter by ice fishermen, that it's treacherous. I think it's just a lawsuit waiting to happen.
We're going to fix that. I mean,
keep
this is
hearing
outside
it
of,
stays the same.
not the ripper, the erosion is part of this. It has to be designed because it's a very steep
Right.
embankment. But the stairway, I've asked that get repaired.
But we need more of a permanent fix for that stairway, which I assume would
Right.
be part of this.
Part of the construction.
Right. Well, just be careful what you ask for, because then that means there's a concrete path going through there for ADA if we start
Well,
changing
the thing is,
that.
we have all these people going down there, and I mean, I've almost fallen down the stairs myself. It's bad.
It's just,
So, I know there's things
if
we
the
have to
city wants concrete through that narrow park,
Well, I think there's room for flexibility on that, if there's
you haven't given us any flexibility on any of them yet.
a path to the, bench area, if that suffices ADA requirements, and having a step path down to the water. I don't know if that's considered where that's at. I think it's an interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's enough slope to give an ADA access.
No, I'm just saying from the street
There's too much
back
slope.
to that. There's going to be a concrete path. Right now, there's just a little stub now with the remodel that you put in there. If we start doing major improvements down at the lake, we're going to have to put a concrete path from the street to those. And I just question, is that really what the community wants, is a sidewalk through that park? Because it's pretty precious in my eyes the way it is. But I totally agree with the safety concerns. The steps are treacherous in the railing right now, and we have to, and I've asked that get dealt with. sooner rather than later. But the riprap, that takes that wall, it's a big bank.
Right, but it's really, and
It's
a lot
bad.
of people were climbing up and down it during
Right.
rhythm and booms, which made it difficult matters. So anyway,
Park tree planting is something we put in this year in our capital budget process, and looking to do so as a replacement of our trees that are starting to fail for a variety of reasons, including some of our ash trees in our parks. And so that line item is to replant several areas that need trees, and then also anticipated ash borer. Park benches, trash cans, bike racks is a maintenance line item that we use. This year we instituted a lot of recycling bins at our parks, including I think every park that has a playground now has a recycling bin. Been using the residential models that you have at your house, which are okay temporarily, but when it's windy they blow over and square off type of things. So they're not really meant to have a bag in them. That would be to kind of have one round barrel like we have for trash, different color for recycling, have a recycling sticker on a can that we have now if anyone wants to see that, but I think it's been a really valuable goal of ours as far as sustainability is to increase our recycling or just offering of recycling. And we had evidence of our collection this year. Our recycling dumpster down at Public Works was once a month empty, went to once a week type of empty from the amount of recycling that we were taking.
I know that was a concern. I guess I'm looking to you, Dan. You begrudgingly put all those before Jake was taking over the parks. Have we seen much abuse of using recycling bins for trash?
We did that last year, started that last summer.
Yep.
I wasn't made aware of any.
Okay, good.
any incidents, so
Good.
we'll see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
There's
wet
always a
bag.
yeah.
I guess we'll have to see what comes in the next contract with the recycling. We see an increasing amount of, trash that they're separating out. But there's going to be some, no matter what. But I think anything that's getting recycling is better from what we were doing previously.
Good, thank you.
I'm going to call a tennis court, crack filling, and a new coat. Several years ago, we had looked at that tennis court as a possible splash pad area. That's still a ways off as far as any improvements. And the tennis courts at Winnequa are used extensively for our youth programs, several large cracks. So it's a maintenance item that needs to be done. We'd also be looking at in the painting of the courts and footing lines for pickleball. If anyone's played pickleball at all, it's one of the fastest growing sports for the boomer generation. It's using the same net, just different lines, and they use a paddle with a plastic ball.
Are you comfortable with that number?
Yeah. If we
So
did a
it's a-
Buska all week for 20,000.
Okay, because I walked through that this
Yeah.
weekend and
There's a
you
lot
could
of
break your
a lot
leg
of
in, you could
linear
break
track.
your leg in that tennis court.
Dog park. Mr. Mayor, would you like to?
No, you're doing fine. You're doing a fine presentation.
After numerous public input in Park and Rec Board meetings, the mayor asked to put this into the budget. We did. Its location was determined to be at the Femright Drive location right next to the Public Works facility. This dollar amount would be for fencing on three sides of the property with a double entrance gate and a 12-foot utility gate. With a park sign and landscaping and a stand to be able to have dog poop bags available for people to use it.
And that originally came in at, what did you have in, 42,000?
40,000 originally,
And I don't think it's gonna cost this much, but Jake said he wanted to be more secure. The first initial estimate on the fencing came in at 13,000. So, I'm sorry?
Strictly for the fence.
Strictly for the fence.
Would there be a parking lot?
No.
For customer, where
No,
the
it'd be
patrons?
off.
There's 20 spots along the street, and there's an additional 12 spots at Edna Taylor. That's even closer than the street. Alder Thomas?
So,
Question, I understood initially the park board turned this down or voted, didn't approve it, then it came back with a lowered price. Is it the lowered price that changed park board's mind, or?
Park board really didn't vote on it the second time it came back, did we? We voted on a couple of other items that were changed, but we didn't vote to approve it.
So the park board didn't approve this?
Well, I mean, the discussion was basically that we were happy overall with what was coming back to us, and the discussion was that the council would, deal with the budget, and so the board decided not to cast a formal ballot.
I'm fully expecting opposition when we get into this, and I'm ready and willing to have those discussions, and I just hope for civil discussion and thought as we go forward on it. Since I've gone through all kinds of it. No, this is the mayor put this in the budget. So there's no one screaming or kicking for this but the mayor. Did that answer your question, Alder Thomas?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I thought I understood when you talked about this in the beginning that Park Board approved it at their second budget. Sorry if I misunderstood you. I was just trying.
I thought they had too, but.
I'm just trying to get clarity. I'm not trying to start an argument or a debate.
Okay. I thought they had too. So, yeah, it's in there because of that. So I apologize for the misunderstanding. So we seem to have lots of different opinions here. What happened? I wasn't at the meeting.
Timing issue of when the three meetings between the first read at Park and Rec Board level, the meeting with the mayor, and then the second read of the Park and Rec Board. And so we brought back updates after the first reading of what the meetings with the mayor went to, and I think there was some discussion about removal of the Dream Park restroom addition at that point. And we talked
in the awning.
Awnings, and then I think at the dog park it was just left at a standstill. We talked about it, but I think we knew it was going to come up one way or the other at the council meeting during this discussion. So there was no official action, but I'm not sure, and I guess I'd have to look at the minutes.
There's going to be plenty of time to discuss it, Jay.
Alder Wood?
Just one question on the dog park. Do you know what the total area would be that would be usable for the dog park?
A little less than an acre. I think it's 0.81.
And then I had a question going back to Lotus Park. Are you going to be using the project manager approach on that, or do you not need to?
We're looking at doing a single general contractor for this project. The scope is large enough that we think that we can have a single contractor be able to do dredging, parking lot, and shelter construction.
Okay. And sort of related to that, I guess maybe Dan's going to talk about this, but for Schluter Beach Park, are you planning to do project manager for that project?
I think there would be two separate contracts for that project. There would be the stormwater and shoreline erosion improvements on one contract, and then there would be the restroom on another contract. There may be some carryover on the excavation. That's why a part of the savings we could potentially see. You could have an excavator there to dig out the channel. They could dig out the footings for the building as well and do the demo of the existing building. So I think there would be a little bit of carryover. We might carry a portion of the shelter contract, the stormwater contract, or just look to negotiate a bid with that site work contractor to do some of the site work for the
Okay, that's all I had.
Further questions? What page?
Community Center? Community Center.
4 minor projects at the community center. First one being cable replacement. That's kind of every second or third year to keep up with our inventory of our 6 and 8 foot cables. Furniture replacement for the lobby atrium area. I encourage you to take a look if you're going to do a tour of the police station, stop down at the community center. We do have a lot of people using the facility, a lot of transition time with our programs, after-school programs, evening programs, where people are waiting in the lobby for various programs. The scissors lift is one that we'll be using primarily at the community center, but also in our park system. It's an electric lift that we can get up to clean the vaulted ceilings that we have, replace light bulbs in a safe manner, and it would be the same in our park shelters with our vaulted ceilings that we have almost all of our park shelters. And that price is for a used lift, one that you can move while you're up in the air, small one-person lift that can go up to 18, 19 feet high, and would really make things more efficient. We're changing light bulbs and cleaning all of our wood beams that we have. The bar area improvements is really a storage room improvement. Request would be to remodel the area that currently serves as the bar in the community center, change it over to a primary storage room for our tables that we have. We have a lot of tables just leaning up against the wall. That was one area when Signet came and did an inspection that they asked us to look at some improvements on, whether we're getting carts for them. And we would like to be able to have that storage area. That would change our bar operations to a portable bar, and we'd be going out for a new contract for next year for our bar manager, but we'd be looking at doing a portable bar storage there, having bar service areas out in the lobby for events, and having a limited selection of beer and alcohol are more available on what groups wanted to use.
Questions?
121, pool.
Pool, diving board replacements, getting at the end of their useful life, we typically replace the hinges and hinges each year. There's the boards itself are what they start to crack. One of them has been sent in to be refurbished already. They're about, I believe, 15 years old each. Chemical storage shed replacement is where we store our muriatic acid that we use as one of our 2 primary chemicals to treat the pool, and that's the big brown shack that you see when you walk into the north side of the senior center. What we would like to do is to be able to, right now when we get our we call them barrels of acid that are 15 gallons barrels. They have a little handle on them. They're very heavy. So either myself or one of my park staff, we lug them up one at a time, and we put 15 to 18 of them in the room. We'd like to be able to have a double door where we can put a 200 gallon or 175 gallon tank that we can fill up once or twice a summer. And the existing one is getting at the end of its useful life. It's rusting out on the bottom, and safety length of service. Pool study, we put in the existing pools built in 1993. We just passed 20 years of what we have in our current pool. This board and previous boards have been very supportive of the outdoor pool and maintenance items for the pool, and we've been able to keep up on a lot of those. But at the park board level, we looked at this study to be kind of the initial step of what do we want to see the pool look like in another 10 years when we get close to 30 years. And that process of, do we look at putting an addition on the pool where we can have zero deck? Do we look at adding a splash pad or some other type of feature? We want to make sure that what we offer our residents and people visiting the pool is something that is desirable and people want to come to our facility. And so that study is the whole process of public input and the charrettes of what could be and what we have. As we look at our revenues for the pool, I don't want to always use the weather as whether it was a good year or a bad year. And so we have a working group right now looking at operating hours, and are those operating hours convenient for the people that are using the pool? But I think it's also time that we look at the future of the pool and what we want to do with it as a community. Concession stand upgrades, $10,000 for air conditioning. We had it in this year's budget for $5,000. The bids came in between 8 and 10. And the concession room that we have is small. We do have equipment in there to try to offer a variety of items. The heat that's generated from those pieces of equipment and the heat outside makes it 90 to 100 degrees plus and results in the GFI circuit breakers tripping on a constant basis, where we basically can't use a popcorn machine and some of our other equipment.
So, did you say we had 5,000 in the budget this year?
We did, yeah, we did use it.
Okay, so,
We used it somewhere else, some of the budget amendments.
what did we use it for?
We were over on United Park.
No. I think we used it for the Schluter architectural.
I had to take a look. We did use it for something else. We used a budget amendment because he knew it was going to be too short. He ended up wanting. It was a budget amendment.
Okay, I was hoping we could just throw 5 and use the same 5, but clearly we went over someplace and spent it someplace else.
Yeah, through a budget amendment.
Okay.
Pump replacement, our main circulation pump, typically averages between $2,000 and $4,000 a year to rebuild our existing pump. We went out for quotes this year because of the way the pool is designed. It takes a pretty beefy pump, and so this dollar amount is for a complete replacement of the existing pump. And deck furniture is just an ongoing replacement of our lounge chairs and we added the Adirondack chairs this year, which were very popular, but we typically get between 20 and 30 chairs. You probably lose 10 to 15 each year breakage.
Questions? Alder Thomas?
Yeah, I do have a question about if you're looking at what's going to happen in 10 years at the pool. Do we think starting now to do the study is early?
I don't. I mean, I think,
Usually you start 5.
well, it might be 5. I mean, we were at 20 in 2013, and so we're at, 21. I'm just looking at, starting the conversation. Maybe it doesn't happen this year, but I think it's to put the notice out there that it may take 5 years to fundraise for improvements if we're looking at that, if that's the direction that this board wants to go, or it may go through a variety of public input, changes, ideas on what we want to do with the outdoor pool.
You will note, Alder Thomas, next year, they have 75,000, and again, I don't hold them to the, I just look at the current year's borrowing and planning, but they have a big number in there for engineering already next year, so.
And that, I mean, that's,
And it may be expedited.
that seems really early to me.
Sure. And maybe it's expedited. I mean, ideally, this nice 5-year budget happens, but it hasn't been my experience that it ever happens that way. So I'm like to start the process now, and, it may take 7 years, instead of 5 years to go through a construction process. It may take 10, but I think the idea is let's start now with the study, putting it on public radar map of where we want to see our outdoor pool, look at all avenues. And
Yeah, I just think 10 years is really early to start a study. That's, as the city studies go. But that's just my view of the world.
Further questions? All right, thanks, Jake. I would like to continue since we're almost done, and Public Works takes about 2 minutes, so. Unless somebody has, and we have Will too. Will's going to take an hour, he said.
And I would just like to note and remind you on our community media, not cable anymore, or after tonight's
After
meeting maybe.
tonight.
That is not funded through the borrowing, it's funded through dedicated funds through the cable franchise, so just a reminder.
But I do want you to know, it's still our dollars as a community. All right, Dan? Mark?
Cable.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was last. No, no.
129 is clean.
I'm sorry.
So, the radio station construction, I know the mayor's talked a lot about this. That again has been saved up with the franchise fees, so that initial $75,000 with a $10,000 contingency. I think we're being pretty strict with the 75, so I don't see us using that 10, but we put it in there, but we don't really want to use that. And that includes, right, the station being constructed, equipment in, training in, the whole thing to get it going. So if we look at an audio console, that's actually for this room. So these microphones are now going into a 1998 compact computer back there, which at any time, if it crashes, we won't have audio, and there's really no contingency as to how to hook these up if something was to happen. We'd actually probably just stick the microphone in the room and hope for the best until we could get a new computer and reprogram and everything. So what we're proposing is to get an audio console, so there's like a mixing board that you see, you know, everywhere that you plug microphones into and kind of go back to a simpler setup so that it doesn't have to, we're not dealing with old technology that could go out at any time. A media production computer. As we grow the community media department, we need better software, and I should say better computers that can run the current software. Right now we have one computer that can actually do some media production, so if you watch the station, you may see the same things over and over, because we're having a hard time getting to working on things when there's only one computer to work on at a time. So over the years, we need to purchase more computers so that we can get multiple computers working at once. And then the hopes is you will see more content, more exciting things happen. A laptop computer for this very room here. Just as what Mark's doing tonight, that way we have a dedicated computer here for anyone in the community, for council meetings, for this room, and it's dedicated, and we don't, hopefully won't have the issues of people coming in, having something on the computer, and they can't hook up their computer. Well, we can start telling people to just bring a file, and they can transfer their file onto a laptop that's available here. The portable intercom headset system, that is going to be what you see, right? What you see the football coaches wearing all the time on the sideline, those type of things where you can talk to other people. So when we're doing productions, football games, basketball games, school events, period, choir, all those things, Memorial Day, 4th of July, when we have multiple cameras recording at once, you need to be able to talk to each other so that when we're switching between cameras, we know what's going on, and we're not just switching aimlessly and then somebody doesn't even know they're being recorded and they could not be in focus and those types of things. So it helps us to have a better recorded event. The GoPro camera, which is obviously a very small expense, but with all the construction going on, we'd be able to give some really good time lapses, some good views for the community on what's going on with Tracell, what's going on with the water redevelopment, what's going on in Monona Drive. This would be something we could place on top of buildings and towers and things like that to give us a view of some of the redevelopment projects and things going on in Monona. 3 remote cameras are in this room. Currently, this remote camera and that remote camera work well, but that one way back there is simply just sitting on that tripod. It's not anywhere near these two as far as the look and feel and how it integrates with the system, and it can't be manipulated, so it's just a wide shot and it stays there throughout the council meeting. So if you ever watch it back at home and you go, why is that camera not even picking anything up? because we can't move it unless we physically come out here and move it. So we're just proposing getting 3 new remote cameras that will all integrate well with each other and better coverage. If we were lucky enough to find one more of those cameras that we could mount up over there, that'd be great. But it's kind of hard to find one camera to integrate with a already, couple-year-old system. So we'll see, but that would be ideal.
Questions? Yes.
If I could add to that, also under the facility money, we're looking to replace these older screens that, are hard to see. The lights dim and undim on them with some flat screen panels, 2 for the council facing and 2 for the audience facing. It would just be much better high definition televisions, 52-inch. We can get them really pretty economical right now, and just much better visually for the participants of the meeting and the audience.
Further questions? All right, thanks, Will. Good job. Now, Dan, Mr. Stefani and Shannon is able assistant.
It's 59. For those of you on the council who have not yet met Shannon, since mid-August, she's been our new project manager, GIS, IT, sustainability. So she's doing a good job for us so far. First thing on the list is the annual street repair program. We have 9 areas that we can do mill and overlay. 3 areas that we can look at for microsurfacing. Everything will depend on basically what the amount approved and what the preliminary estimates will come in at. Tompkins Avenue is on there. This is a City of Madison request. They're reconstructing Tompkins Avenue. We have the last portion of that, roughly 350 feet. We have a small portion of that with curb and gutter already. So basically, it's just the balance of the road for curb and gutter and resurfacing the road. I believe that would be a full depth mill on that. Next one is the DPW cold storage garage. That one comes back once again. We did receive estimates for that last year that came in the range of $244,000. The additional money on that is basically to cover anything that the construction wouldn't. Electrical, garage doors, permits, things of that nature. Broadway streetlight repair for warranty. That's an estimate at this time. Stresscrete is going to warranty replace 26 light poles on Broadway. Our cost for that is installation of the poles and transferring the lights. I'm waiting for a good estimate to come in from MGE for assistance with that. We should be receiving that shortly.
Why do we need to replace them?
There's 26 poles by Stresscrete that have failed. There's spiderweb cracking, there's chunks of concrete that are out of the bottom. There's another 30 made by, I think, General Concrete. It's a company that went out of business. Depending on how this goes this year, I'll be back in a year or two to request replacement of the other ones. There's no warranty replacement on the other 30. But if you look at some of those poles as you drive down Broadway, you see some of them that are leaning. If you look closely as you drive by, you'll see the chunks of concrete are missing. And this just they've failed. So.
Is Madison contributing anything to this?
No, this is strictly our section.
And actually, the entire stretch of this section, including the streetscape, was Monona participation alone, none of the county.
Yeah.
County didn't participate to the streetscaping.
Yeah, this is east of Bridge Road to Stoughton Road. That's all ours.
Oh, okay, it's not by Southtown. Okay.
Right-of-way tree replacement program, that is mainly for replacing the trees that are cut down. I think if, depending on how hard the ash borer hits us, we might have a need to use that money for cutting down as well. There is a portion, a good chunk of money in the operating budget which is coming forward that we have for tree cutting, tree removal. parking lot maintenance.
If I can just, because this has been asked, and you might disagree and change it, but I've asked for little, if any, change to any of the tree, other than we've been under budgeted in some areas, so I said get it to what we're actually running at. But we do not have a formal ash tree removal process like the city of Madison's going through, where they are aggressively taking down ash trees. It's my personal position that when we have an ash borer, emerald ash borer problem, then we will cut them down, and if they're ill and sick, we're not going to aggressively treat them, but we're not going to cut down trees that aren't in stress or dying. So Madison is cutting tons of trees at Tenney Park. They're clear cutting ash that appear to be healthy today, but getting ahead. The trade-off being, when it does hit, we're going to be behind. I mean, Madison's trees will be bigger than our trees when we plant them in, but I just,
But you
so I
might
just
not
wanted you
lose
guys.
all the trees.
Pardon?
You
Might
might
not
not
lose
lose
all-
all the
right.
trees. I mean, when we had 8 elm trees in our yard, and we did lose, we lost 7 of them, but we saved 1.
Yeah, I have one too, so, yeah, I agree. Alder Holmquist?
Are there sections of roads that we've taken out trees for other reasons? Because I've seen sections where people have approached me believing that we were running a program that we don't have. And if there could be some comment, I mean, there are chunks of blocks that there was no construction.
I'm told
being
those
done.
trees are going to be in there. And like right out here in front of Bruce McConnell's house, that we are this fall going to replace all those trees that were cut down.
And what's the reason behind removal?
They were ill,
Those were ash that were on.
that were sick.
Yeah.
Not emerald ash borer, but they were sick, I was told.
But any time that there is a tree that's showing signs of death, I mean, we have our contract with Mike Johnson. They come in, our guys take out dead limbs, but basically, the plan is when a tree comes out, a tree goes back in. And we have an approved list in the municipal code that we replant with. But we've seen an increase in cutting ashes this year. So we're expecting it to hit us hard next year.
But we're not aware of any of them were due to emerald ash though, right?
No, it
It's like at Schluter Beach, there's ash trees there that need to be taken down regardless of the Schluter Beach program. But now that we're working on Schluter Beach, we're taking a closer look at these trees and, oh wow, half that tree's dead already.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the costs that were projected in the parks budget regarding tree replacement. It was $7,500 for a tree to be taken out, and then some additional funds for planting. And then I look at this number and think through, just in that one block, I believe 3 trees were removed, and the numbers don't seem to kind of equate well, and I want to make sure that we aren't ignoring a problem, and if there are trees that we need to remove, even if it's due to just regular illness or emerald ash.
This dollar amount is not for a certain number of trees. It's a dollar amount that we have to work with, whatever we can do for that amount. I think if we get hit harder than anticipated, we'll come back.
I'm not aware we've ever used the total budget,
No.
so I just want that to be clear. We budgeted,
The library will close.
Alder Wiswell would always cut it down for that very reason, because it never got used. So we're kind of upping it again now with the thought that there is more attention being paid to it. So this is actually more than's ever been in there. And we'll see if it gets used or not.
And I believe if it doesn't get used, we can move it forward to the next year as well.
We'll do something, yeah.
Well, then we should have a rolling balance.
We have a fund balance.
It lapses into the fund.
So this goes back into the general fund.
No, capital.
Oh, good.
So we do have a rolling balance for trees of unused money.
I suppose those type of things, like annual sidewalks, and annual trees, you kind of put into like a goes to the fund balance because they don't
You have to carry it forward.
carry it forward.
You can make them, you can move to carry it forward at the end of the year, and that'll happen. But if you don't do it, it will lapse into.
Well, we have, Andy said we have been using most of that money, so there's not much left. Any.
All right. I'll save the question for that.
Further, quick, no, I'm fine, keep going.
Next up, this parking lot maintenance program. That money is used for maintenance, repair, replacement of parking lots this past year at the fire station. Annual sidewalk improvement program, replacement of panels, grinding of trip edges, things of that nature. Relocate the digital message board. That is coming from the corner of Monona Drive and Broadway. We'll be coming down to Nichols in Monona Drive on the school administration parcel in between two block walls. Schluter Beach.
Just in case we have school board members watching that has not gone before the school board, Pat has been working with school staff. It appears it's going well, but we're not telling the school board how to do their job, so we think it'll go through, but it's not been approved yet, so.
And at the new location, will be able to be a dynamic.
Santa Claus can fly.
Okay, the next one is the Schindler Park dredging / beach improvements. That's the item that Jake was talking about. That's will be in the public works bid. That's basically reconstructing the shoreline that borders the park, making it accessible for pedestrian use, fishing use, making it safer. We still have some things to iron out as far as any tree removal or tree addition. We're meeting next week with the engineers on that. So,
Other than part of the improvements along the channel would be to extend the beach line to the north, create a little bit bigger view of the lake and extend our beach. There was talk in the original plan that's in your packet to facilitate the type of mechanical dredging and to provide more of a safety shelf and down the shoreline, but it would have resulted in the loss of the large cottonwood trees. After discussions with the mayor and the park board, it was desired to be able to try to make efforts to save those cottonwood trees in the park, and so that will change the design of the shoreline restoration where it's at right now. So the design still needs to be completed.
The next one is the pump house and reservoir upgrades. This one grew into quite a project. We initially started out with wanting to replace the reservoir lids, the access to the reservoir. We were inspected by the DNR late last fall, and they came back with a lot of requirements and recommendations. We did a capital budget amendment this past summer. We have 26 items that we have to either upgrade, repair, or replace as part of this project. So it's quite a project. Well 2 pump maintenance, that's pulling the pump at well 2. This is about a once every 20-25 year maintenance item. We'll pull the shaft, the bearings, do an inspection and replace any worn parts as needed and put it back in. We did something similar to this in 2013 with well 1. Well 3 will be coming in for 2016. That'll be the future. Water tower maintenance painting, that's the white water tower. We are planning on assessing this back to the cell phone providers. The interior is in need of repainting due to the various welds and welding droppings on the water tower inside. Repairs and repainting wasn't completed as required, so the city's going to take the lead on this, get it repainted, and we'll assess it back to the companies. Annual sewer system lining and repair. That's a line item that we started last year. It's for small item maintenance for manholes, manhole rings, things like that. We used some of this money this past year when we did the road milling overlay. Sanitary sewer main adjustment, Winnebago Road culvert. As part of our stormwater project, a few items down on this list. There's a sanitary sewer running through a stormwater culvert at Sumac Lagoon. This money will be used for adjusting that when the culvert's replaced. Schnuter Beach channel dredging and construction. This project includes the installation of 2 sediment removal chambers, similar to what we did last year at the Cove. Dredging the channel, and I think some other small miscellaneous items. But the good news on this, I believe, will be awarded some Dane County grant funding for this. I don't know if it's all put together or not, as far as the
Formal appropriation will be made this month.
So that
Yeah.
$247,000.
right, so that's a good chunk of money.
Question,
All the
is
wood?
any of the rest of it accessible to the property owners on the other side?
I believe the dredging will be accessible and the engineering associated with the dredging. I don't think...
At the 70-30 split.
Right.
Right.
And they are all aware. This actually came forward driven by the residents, so we've been in communication with all the property owners. Moving on, annual storm sewer repair program. That is for miscellaneous repairs to the storm sewer system. We've used that money in the past to line storm main, repair sections of storm main, storm manholes, and things like that. Storm project construction, outfall and culvert. This consists of placing 4 new sediment removal chambers. 2 of them will go for the Winnequa Park. Outfall, as it goes into Sumac, we'll have a chamber placed at Graham Park in the right-of-way, and by Pirate Island, the street right-of-way. Also, we have two culverts that we're replacing, upsizing, that's on Nichols Road and on Winnequa, for the conveyance of our channel water to the parks. We did apply for a Dane County grant for this, but our project didn't rate high enough. We're going to reapply next year. So I think we have a good shot of getting the money next year. I think we'll be bumped up on the list by that.
And you got the state grant too.
For this project? Okay, so we get this grant funding.
I think we'll be successful.
The next item is storm engineering for Gateway Green, pretty much in the Christie Circle area. They've got history of extreme flooding over there. So we're proposing to take a look at the watershed area, find out what's going on. We did televise the storm main in that area. Everything is good. There's no broken pipes or nothing, but I think that area is just getting overburdened with storm water. The engineers will figure out what we need to do there, but we've got some good pictures for you if you want to see them after the meeting. And the final item on the project list is engineering for Pirate Island dredging. It's not formally a project at this point, but it's to get the ball rolling on engineering for dredging Pirate Island channel.
So, I guess I misunderstood, and I was talking to Pat earlier about this. Are we doing anything in Pirate Island? Are we doing that clean out of the storm? I thought we budgeted that this year to do the nothing. We're not touching.
What we're doing at Pirate Island as part of the storm project, outfall and culvert, is that outfall is receiving a sediment removal chamber in the street. At the outfall.
So we're not cleaning any of the sand that's gone through that outfall?
No, there's a much bigger need.
I know the residents want it, but All right, okay, I misunderstood this. I'm not anxious to take, well, we'll see if the residents are willing to pay their share, which I doubt they will, but I do feel we have a bit of an obligation, because it's our stormwater outflow that, if you canoe that and kayak that, which I do, it's really bad at our stormwater outflow. I thought we were getting a mechanical arm to scoop that out, and we had budgeted that.
Well, no, we didn't have that
Okay.
budgeted.
All right, then, my mistake. Alder Thomas?
An issue came up at, when we were doing the operations budget about signs. Do you want to?
Yep, that was my next comment before we move on to equipment. When we had the second read on the capital budget, either Kathy or Chad will do an amendment. At last week's Public Works Committee meeting, the committee decided to have street sign replacement added to the capital budget. We have about 150 regulatory signs that we need to replace because of reflectivity requirements. We measured those this past year, and we have a lot of signs to replace. They have a 12-year life, and I think the committee was thinking that's long enough. It should be in the capital budget. So
It jumps at, like, how much is, I want to say 5,000, 6,000? But it's mandated by another unit of government, and in discussions with Mr. Stoper, he said this would qualify for capital. And we thought, given the limits and given the fact that we have no choice, it might make sense to bump this into capital.
No problem. I'll make it up from my savings on the dog park if we have to, so. Not a problem.
But it's, but the total that we have is 5,450, and roughly 4,100 is for signs, and another 1,350 to rent the meter, so we can do more testing on all of our signs.
So are we going to put that in? Is that the suggestion that the?
Yes.
That would be at the amendment.
At the amendment stage?
But it'll come as an amendment, but we just wanted to bring it up now since we're.
Okay.
we missed the
Questions on the public works and equipment phase? Alder Bussey?
Just peeking ahead at the projector for 2018, you've got $2 million in local road construction, project engineering, which is almost, it's over 1.5 times the previous 3 years worth of requests here.
Yeah, that's for a local road reconstruction project, similar to what we had in 2011, 2010. This is not the typical mill and overlay.
The library will close in 2
It's
minutes.
water main replacement.
Please move your items to the main desk for checkout, as we cannot check out items after closing. At this time,
And where are you
all
tentatively
items
thinking?
accessibility. Thank you.
Requires that?
McKenna, Rothman, Wallace, Lofty, Arrowhead, Bolts, and Tony Walker Trail. Those are the areas that are targeted. We have a few more areas that have the cast iron water main. So it, there's really nothing planned as far as, nothing that's concrete as far as what sections to do, because there's 2 more projects basically waiting after that, so and those are the streets we'll target first.
All in 1 year, does it make sense to spread the pain over?
I mean, we can do it however you want.
I'm
There's
just asking you, right?
there's a lot of other areas that have cast that are following up, probably 2020 and 2022 every other year. But if council wants to spread it a little more.
Mark, did you want to add something?
I would look into 2018, I think we probably would be, with the utilities, depending on the utilities, you always have to spread it over a couple of years. That's, at that time, I don't think we can do that much.
I just want to get through 15's budget. So. No, it's very valid and to start planning it out.
You've got the grow barns this year is, on our worksheet is 944, we dropped down to 243. Does it make sense to balance that workload. It sounds like they're going to be different parts of the community. I don't know. Just
It worked for you in our meetings, but.
Well, this is 2018 he's talking about.
No, he's looking at 15 too, right? That you're
Well, I don't know,
saying
15
it's.
15, I'm not suggesting we make any change in 15
Okay.
because we've got a cold storage and a few other
He's
things.
talking about 16, 17, 18.
Oh,
Yeah.
way out there.
Yeah, I mean, even, okay.
It's going to be basically driven by water main breaks. I mean, this past winter, Schultz,
Tony Watha.
You know, I guess if there's a section of main that takes the lead and breaks, it's going to get bumped up.
Page 81.
81?
Yes, 81.
All right, the first one is the water utility step van. It's a 1990 truck. It qualifies for replacement based on a point system. If approved, we're anticipating replacing that with a, not the same type of van, but more of a Sprinter type van. It's a little smaller, a little narrower, but it still has the operational height that the crew needs to stand up and do work on the inside. The leaf collection truck, this is the second one. It's 1992. This estimate is based off of our last bid that we received for the truck that we're going to get this month. The follow truck. It's from we currently have a 1995. It qualifies for replacement based on our point system. We are planning to upgrade that to another tandem axle instead of a single axle plow. It'll be outfitted with the wing, the front plow, and all the de-icing equipment that is standard on the trucks nowadays. And the last piece of equipment is for some Bobcat attachments. We're looking to buy an angle broom, our own stump grinder, and a set of pallet forks. The last round of stump grinding that we did a few weeks ago, we actually rented what we are hoping to buy, and our crew was able to do this in a few days. And we would like to take this over and send contract it out. So,
Didn't we estimate this would pay for itself in almost the first year?
pretty much.
Questions? All right. Next.
That's it.
Next. Any questions of the wonderful austere group as a whole? Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the background information on these. I thought that went well. Thank you, Mark, for the interpretation. Other than our time estimate was a little bit off, I think this is probably a more efficient way to do it. So look forward to the fun of the debate. Thanks, everyone. Is there a motion to declare the closed committee of the whole? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion second for closing the committee of the whole meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. We will take a 2-minute break and go right into the council meeting. And I apologize, but welcome our guests. If anyone is here that wants to address the council on any item that's not on the agenda, if you could please fill out one of the speaker sheets over by the food cart.
Your license? Yeah. I want to check. Like that.
Yes, I was not present. It usually would be the person that did the minutes, whoever did the minutes.
So Joan doesn't have, where are the
It should be part of your minutes, but you, like, if I don't keep those, but once.
Ready, guys? Okay, this time am I going to see video?
6.9 million available right now.
There, I need to see that before I trust it. I would like to call to order the Monona City Council meeting for Monday, October 6, 2014. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey?
Here.
Alder Wood?
Here.
Alder Spate?
Here.
Alder O'Connor?
Here.
Alder Holmquist?
Here.
Alder Thomas? Here. Mayor Miller?
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of the September 16th meeting, 15th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? There's a motion second. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Against? All those in favor said aye, so the minutes have been approved. Appearances this evening, we have two proclamations. The first is declaring DECA Week in the city of Monona, and it appears we have some guests. Natalie Attired from DECA. If you could come up to the podium, please. I want you to stand right back here. And if you could please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here with us this evening, and then I will read the proclamation for you.
I'm Megan DeVault, and I am the Vice President of Social Intelligence for the Monona Grove DECA chapter.
And I am Tanner Dahlhauser. I am the Vice President of Monona Grove DECA. And we're here today because every year we celebrate what we call DECA Week, and it's just kind of a fun way to get our school involved and the community to kind of get everyone to know what DECA is all about. Basically, DECA is an association of business and marketing students that prepares students to become future business leaders in finance, entrepreneurship, hospitality, and marketing. And it's a great way to get involved in your school, your community, as well as with multiple other kids, or many other kids from around the nation.
Perfect. Next, you'll be mayor. That's great. So I'd like to read the following proclamation. Whereas DECA is an organization designed to introduce high school students to the fields of business, marketing, finance, hospitality, or management through fun group activities and competitions. And whereas Monona Grove's chapter of DECA is one of 3,500 high school chapters in all 50 states and 9 countries. And whereas the goal of DECA is to help students become academically prepared for college and help soften the transition from high school to the real independent world. Boy, I should have taken it. Whereas DECA teaches students the valuable skills of goal setting, consensus building, and project management, as well as introducing them to the concepts of ethics and integrity. And whereas DECA allows students to gain an appreciation for the benefits of service and their potential impact on the community and the world. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Miller, Mayor of the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim October 13th through the 17th of 2014 as DECA Week in the city of Monona, and I urge all citizens to support and encourage our students who participate in this valuable organization. Signed this day, Robert E. Miller. Congratulations. You can come up.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations. All right. On a bicycle built, excuse me. The next proclamation I'm very proud to be handing out is a proclamation recognizing Lieutenant Frank Fenton for his retirement from the Monona Police Department. Lieutenant Fenton, could you please join me at the podium? So before we will have some austere words from you, I would like to present the following. Whoa, this is fine print. Whereas Frank K. Fenton began his law enforcement career as a police officer with the City of Monona Police Department in 1993. He was promoted to sergeant in 1997 and lieutenant in 1999. He will be retiring on October 31st, 2014. And whereas Frank Fenton received numerous training certifications, throughout his career, including, but not limited to, emergency management, firearms instructor, bicycle officer, defense and arrest tactics, investigation of domestic violence, advanced concepts of crisis management, violence and mental illness, risk management, and team building. And whereas Frank K. Fenton attended the Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command in 2002 and continued his education by earning a bachelor's degree in social science with a minor in psychology from Upper Iowa University in 2010. And whereas Frank K. Fenton was considered an expert when it came to difficult cases involving emergency detentions, and he served on Emergency Detention Subcommittee of the Dane County Chiefs of Police Association until his retirement. And whereas Frank K. Fenton has received numerous commendations throughout his career for going above and beyond the call of duty, notably including responding to several barricaded gunman incidents, managing fatal traffic accidents, assisting with search warrants, and assisting the City of Madison Police Department with the coordination of the 2007 Problem-Oriented Policing Conference. And whereas Frank K. Fenton has been an active member of the Chamber of Commerce Ambassador Group, often attending functions after hours to represent the City of Monona. And whereas Frank K. Fenton is a true bicycle enthusiast who brought his enthusiasm to the department by forming the Monona Police Bicycle Unit. He could often be seen on his bike in good weather, and even in the bitter winter cold, patrolling for our local schools in the mornings, lunchtimes, and at dismissal. And whereas Frank K. Fenton, prior to his law enforcement career, served in the United States Marine Corps from 1978 to 1982, when he was honorably discharged as Sergeant E5C. And whereas Frank K. Fenton, prior to coming to Monona, served as a police officer with the Wisconsin Capitol Police from 1990 to 1995. And whereas Frank K. Fenton will be missed as a veteran officer who is held in high esteem by every member of the department and by the citizens in this community for his professionalism, leadership, wisdom, knowledge, and experience. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Robert E. Miller, Mayor, and on the behalf of the City Council of the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin, hereby commend Frank K. Fenton for his exceptional service to the City of Monona and its residents. Be it further resolved that Frank K. Fenton is hereby congratulated on his significant career achievements as an employee of the Monona Police Department and is informed of how much he will be missed. And be it further resolved that his skill, knowledge, compassion, and devotion to the community shall be his permanent legacy to the city of Monona. Signed by Robert E. Miller, Mayor.
Wow, thank you. It's been a good stretch, but I think 26 years of this and tacking all the military time is kind of time to put on jeans and a t-shirt and do some real work for a change. So, thank you, and I will miss you all. I don't think I'll miss the barricaded gunman and some of the other things we dealt with. And you're in good hands. There's good people here, good chief, and it really has been good. The one thing I will say is I chose to come here, and I chose to stay, and it was a good choice. You're all good people. It's been a good city to work for, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to present this plaque to Frank. Presented to Frank K. Fenton. It has a lieutenant badge on it. In appreciation of his many years of service as a police officer in Monona, Wisconsin, January 4th, 1993 to October 31st, 2014 by the Monona Police Department. There you go, Frank.
Thank you very much, Frank. Stay in touch.
You'll see me right through.
All right.
All right.
Is there anyone else here for public appearances section? If not, I will declare the public appearances section closed. Public hearing to receive public input regarding the proposed 2015-2019 capital improvements program and the 2015 capital borrowing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on what we've just reviewed the last hour and a half? And again, to the public, there will be ample opportunity. We will go through 2 readings at the council level, so there will be plenty of time for input. I declare the public hearing section closed. There is no consent agenda this evening. Council action items under unfinished business. Item 1A is consideration of Resolution 14-09-1984, approving an exclusive right to negotiate agreement with Gorman and Company. The city attorney drafted this. We had the first reading at the last meeting. Alder Bussey? Alder Bussey will be recusing himself from consideration of this item. Pat?
Yeah, I would just like to add to that, in addition to this going through first read at the last city council meeting, the Community Development Authority did approve this at their meeting last week. Yeah, last week. And they're ready to move forward with this, so this would be the final action before this is approved.
Move approval.
Second. There's a motion and second. Is there any question? Are there any questions? Alder Wood?
Just really more point of clarification that the title of the document where it refers to it as an exclusive right to negotiate is a little bit misleading. We can the city can continue to negotiate with other interested parties during this exclusive period. We can't reach any agreements with other entities. So that's really all that was pointed
That's
out.
an accurate reflection of what it is.
Right.
So we will still listen to any and all who want to come forth and develop those properties at the river. But for right now, Gorman is in the forefront of those discussions, if this gets approved. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 1B is consideration of Resolution 14-09-1985, which is approving a lease amendment with Tellurian, Inc. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Pat?
Yeah, this was also discussed in somewhat great detail at the last meeting. But there have been, as the chief noted, the city attorney at the last meeting, there's been ongoing discussions with Tellurian. I think everybody, all parties are ready to move forward now, so that's all I have to add.
Questions, Alder Thomas?
There was an issue raised about the increase or the percentage not staying the same. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that's true, that
In
was.
regards to the,
A cost of living increase, perhaps, I think is what it was. Alder Thomas suggested that be looked at, that it not be fixed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Bill had discussions with them.
as you know, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Oh.
I was not privy to those discussions, but if you'd wish, we could, this body could table and I could readdress that.
She did ask for it.
I know he thought it was I know the attorney thought it was a good idea, because it doesn't change over the life of the,
I think the body could take that action, and we could include it as a change to the document if there was a motion to do so.
Is that your wish, Alder Thomas, or how, Alder Wood?
Yeah, I'll move to amend, what is that? Was it paragraph 4 on the third page of the agreement, where it specifies the rate, this is reimbursement for police time, at the rate of $40 per hour, to be increased by the CPI, Consumer Price Index, in each following year.
I'll second.
There's a motion and second to amend paragraph 4 to have the $40 per hour billing be increased annually by the CPI, Consumer Price Index. Is that accurate? Okay.
Right.
Discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, back to the original ordinance with the amendment. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries as amended. Item 1C, consideration of Resolution 14-09-1986 is approving a 2014 capital funds transfer for Schluter Park restroom design brought forth by the Parks and Recreation Director. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's a motion and second. Jake?
I'll handle
Oh, I'm sorry. Pat.
This item, staff is recommending that this body table this item because the bids coming in will be coming in the 15th of this month, and we would include it on the next agenda item for your consideration, the next council agenda for your consideration.
Is there a motion to table? There's a motion to
Second.
table and a second. Discussion, or all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is tabled. Item 2 is under council action items, under new business. Item 2A is consideration resolution 14-10-1987, approving participation in the Wisconsin Bureau of Transportation Safety Grant titled 2015 Capital Area OWI Task Force. This was taken up earlier this evening at Personnel and Finance and was approved. And we have Lieutenant, Sargento? No,
Sartent.
pardon?
Sartent.
Sartent. We have, Officer Weigel is here this evening to address this.
This is for a $5,000 OWI task force grant. What that would include is approximately 12 deployments outside of Monona with other agencies and 2 deployments inside Monona, where 6 outside agencies would partner up with 3 Monona squads on 2 different occasions. There's a 10% cost sharing, which is $500.
Questions?
Is there
Yes.
any reason we can't take action tonight? Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules, take this item out of order. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion for approval?
So
Move.
moved.
I'll
There's a-
second.
Joan, did you pick?
Jim and Chad.
Okay, all right. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We joke, but with all the changes that have taken place recently in the department, what is your going forward role?
I'll be the patrol lieutenant starting November 1st.
Okay, so then you'll be pure lieutenant. So thank you very much, and thank you for getting this for us. Item 2B, consideration of resolution 14-10-1988 is approval of the 2015-2019 capital improvements program and 2015 capital borrowing, brought forth by the mayor earlier this evening. Discussion? Yeah, Alder Spate?
I would just ask a question for clarification, and perhaps Mark can address this. Could you clarify, I mean, you put forth in big numbers, we have a $6.9 million limit, and we have a current budget of about $4.3 million for capital borrowing. And could you just clarify for all of us, how much are you hoping to see cut from this budget? Or what, I mean, help us understand what, if anything, needs to change with this from a parks.
I'll let Mark answer.
You can go to the podium, Mark.
The budget right now is projected, borrows like 4.3, and we're budget to repay back 4.1, which is a good, I think you want to borrow as much as you're going to pay off, which is a good parameter to look at. The only thing I just think you need to look at is what your future things are going to be. If you're looking at some TIF projects or any other projects like that, or public safety buildings. There's something other than that you have to look at, because I think we have like 2.8 is what after we borrow this money would be our gap, I guess, from the debt limit. So, I guess I would say I'm not the spender, these guys are, so I would say that'd be up to
Alder Bussey, then Alder Wood.
So, Mark, you said you'd have a gap of
around 2.8.
2.8. But is that before we honor the obligation that we have with Tresta?
That's after that, so that subtracts that out.
After that, so it's, so there's still that cushion for future TIF funding.
Yep.
And just to confirm, but when you said that the debt service was 4.1 and change, that is principal, that's not principal.
It's just strictly principal payback.
Paying off $4 million, $4 million, $2 in 2015, and this budget before us tonight is looking to borrow 4.3, so if we want to be balanced, we'd.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question at all.
It does, though. A follow-up to that would be, if we have a $2.8 million cushion.
Yep.
And this year, let's just say that we approve this budget as it is at 4.3, and we're paying back 4.1. We're adding 200,000 or 0.2 million to our debt.
Correct.
And that's out of the 2.8 million total limit that we could have in debt. Correct? So, we'd be increasing, or coming into next year.
By 200.
We
200,000
might
more.
have 2.6 million.
Right. And a lot of it's based on equalized value, so that 2.8, see, basically the debt limit is you get 5% of the equalized value. Well, this year it jumped up because of some, I don't know exact projects, but some are new, or just in general,
Our
the economy's coming around, we're growing. I would think the next year's number, 2016 number, should even be higher because we're going to have Tresta in there, so there's that to take in consideration too, so there will be a jump there too. There should be a jump based on current conditions.
Alder Wood and Alder Thomas?
So, Mark, I understood you to say there was, that right now, we have about $6.9 million available under the debt limit?
Correct.
And if we're borrowing 4.3 and paying off 4.1 or 4.2, then it seems like the available debt, available limit should only go down by a couple $100,000. So
Correct.
So it would be 6.7 in that neighborhood, not 2.8 or whatever.
It's for 2015, so I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but we started off at the 6 point whatever. That includes everything we're paying off this year, and it includes everything. Basically, I do a number, you take in consideration what we're paying off next year already.
Okay.
So that's already factored in there.
Got it, okay.
Alder Thomas?
Did you and Pat scrutinize all of the capital items to make sure that TIF is being utilized to its maximum, and in places where it's appropriate, it is applied, whether it's $5,000 on a piece of equipment or building or road, whatever?
We did look at a lot of things. The only one we look at the half-mile radius too, to see if there was stuff that we put in there. We did that this year for Broadway for some of those costs. So we do look at that, and we did take that in consideration.
Can we do any of the, and it didn't occur to me, but like the $30,000 for the telephone poles?
That could be considered, so right now it's in TIF 1, so I could probably use that within the or TIF 2, I mean.
So, I mean, I would like us to, that's $30,000 that I don't want to bill the taxpayers for if we can.
I think that'd be the only thing that's, if I'm looking through back in there, that'd be that.
Isn't TIF, can we still do expenditures on TIF 2? I thought that.
Well, it's going to be TIFs. When I said that, I was thinking.
It would be TID 8.
TID 8.
TID 8, okay.
But it's $30,000, which helps take some of that out, so.
Of the 200 grand.
So that could just, when it comes to borrowing time, we would switch that to that funding source, yep.
So, and I don't know if there's anything,
The only other one thing I would have to look at is the dredging. I had to look and see what exactly,
looking at the dredging would be good.
for Pirate Island. Mall.
Yep.
That's the only one
That repair down there on that, whatever we have to do
Yeah.
on that sand thing.
so I would have to look, some stuff is allowable and some's not, so I have to kind of look in detail for
Yeah.
that one.
So can you, before the next council meeting?
Yeah.
Address
We'll get
any of
together.
those? You
There's only
and
just,
Pat'll?
yeah.
Because I'm not sure all these things are TIF eligible.
Right, so I have to look at, see if all of them are or not.
Alder Bussey?
So if we borrow money for capital expenditures and we do a good job and get a better price, and we don't spend what we borrowed, does that money go into the,
It stays in the capital projects.
stays in capital projects?
Yep.
So what is the status of that cookie jar right now? Does it have a surplus? Is it,
We're
We have
basically
a fire engine in there.
We had the fire, I was gonna say, that's
We
the
have a
only, we had the
big
fire
fire
engine, other
engine
than
that we
that, we're
didn't buy.
basically break even on most of our projects.
Okay.
Since we're doing this one year borrowing, we get really tight on our numbers, so they're fairly close.
is that something you could also provide us?
Yeah.
Here's the cookie jar, there's a bunch of money in here, and it's
Yeah.
for the fire engine, so we can keep the
It's-
chief happy.
Yeah,
And then here's
it's minimum,
minus
but,
what we got,
Yep.
what we got left.
it's minimum, but yeah, most
Can
of,
you use that for 2015?
we can use it to offset the borrowing costs, yeah.
Right. We can't keep it in the cookie jar for the fire truck for the following year, which is scheduled in 2016,
Yeah,
because of some arbitrage rules, but we can
say we did.
limit the amount of borrowing by that dollar amount.
Alder Wood?
And the items that count against the debt limit, or I guess that don't, well, my question is, do the water borrowing, sewer, or stormwater bonds, do those count against the debt limit?
They can and they can't, I guess it's kind of when they're borrowed as revenue bonds, they don't, but when they're small amounts, we have to borrow them as GO notes. So the sewer is really small and the water is really small this year, so we would have to count that. And stormwater is always counted against the GO note. But when they're bigger, we do like bigger road projects like Monona Drive, and there's like $1 million.
How do you define bigger or smaller?
It has to be closer to $1 million range.
Oh.
Then you don't get the rates, and it's just a harder note to get in. You have a higher rate, so you're not paying more money for it.
Alder Bussey?
For the borrowing, we haven't taken into consideration the current market for interest rates. What we've talked about is just the principal, but what's going to impact the taxpayer is the total principal and interest payment.
Yep.
So could you talk to Jeff and get a feel? And what I'd like to know is, we're paying off what our current payment this year, including principal and interest, is X amount per month.
Mhm.
Next year, it's going to be this.
Yep.
Because of the interest rates. And if we wanted them to be even, so that we didn't, from the taxpayer, we're not dipping into their wallet anymore, how much lower does our borrowing have to be?
Yeah, we have schedules. I have those, Jeff, so we can.
We're focusing on the principal, but the interest rates are going up, and we had some great rates there.
Yeah.
So we may, if we want to keep the impact on the taxpayer the same, we may have to borrow less.
Which is going to be difficult, Alder, though, because we do this borrowing in April.
I understand, but
it'll be closer than
it's closer than what we're
than
doing.
what
We
we're
know
doing.
it's going up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
You gotta raise the
Okay.
levy to pay for it.
Right.
Right. So, thank you.
Any other questions?
Further questions? Good job without your laptop. Anything else on that until the next meeting?
If you
All right.
want to go over the process for budget amendments,
Sure. Please.
want me to do it?
Yep.
Okay.
You're the
Well,
collector.
Yeah, Mark and I request that you get the budget amendments to us by, let me look at my calendar here. Thursday, the 16th, the meeting's on Monday, the 20th. That will give us ample time we have to put the packet together. Actually, Wednesday, the 15th, will give us enough time to get the packet to you on Thursday. So if there are any budget amendments, they just should be emailed, referencing in detail what the amendment is, and it takes two alders to propose an amendment.
Questions on that? Alderwood?
I don't think you need two alders to propose an amendment, but to get it.
Need a second to get it on the floor.
Yeah, right, so.
No questions? All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry,
Yep, Alderwood.
I know Alder Thomas is not going to be here on that, on the 20th.
So railroad, excuse me. Yeah.
Is everyone else going to be here, or?
We can, and I did mention this to Alder Thomas, if she wishes, we could teleconference her in for that portion of the meeting, if you wish, and I can coordinate that if you want.
That'd be good.
Skype, yeah. Get her on the big screen. And we're good. Here we go. With our new titled. All right. Hearing no other questions, we'll move on to item 2C, which is consideration of ordinance 10-14-665, amending section 2-4-10 of the Monona Code of Ordinances regarding the Broadband Telecommunications Advisory Committee, brought forth by Alder O'Connor, who is chair of the Broadband Telecommunications Advisory Committee. Alder O'Connor.
As you all know, we will have a radio station up and running, and because of that, the Broadband Telecommunications Committee decided that we needed to make a couple of changes, one of which was the name of the committee to reflect more broadly what the responsibilities are. So After some discussion, we decided on Community Media Committee with the idea that it covers cable, broadband, telecommunications, radio, and some portion of the internet responsibilities. And then we also decided to revise the resolution establishing the committee a little bit. We are adding 2 additional citizen members. It's on the back side of the resolution here. That's the primary change, and then some other wording just to reflect the fact that now it also includes radio. And the only other thing was allowing the committee to form subcommittees as needed. We're going to have a subcommittee just to focus on the radio station because we want to be sure that we're adhering to all the FCC requirements in order to maintain the license. So that's pretty much.
Pat?
And if I could add to that, I talked to our attorney, Bill Cole, about that ability to form subcommittees without council or mayor approval. He's fine with that as long as the subcommittee is only advisory to the standing committee. So we're good with that.
I guess my only caution on that, and I'm good with that, but it's just, there's 2 things at play because of the relationship. Will reports to you as city administrator, but it's a joint initiative, the media with the school district, whereas the radio station is licensed solely to the city of Monona, has nothing to do legally with the school. So I guess one of the subcommittees, as Alder O'Connor shared, is specifically to manage the radio, to be the oversight group for the license, because there's legal requirements with that license. And if that subcommittee has to defer to the parent, is that, because there are school board votes on that, and
Yeah,
okay.
Both those committee, ultimately, per our contract agreement, Will reports directly to my position. So whether it's a cable issue or a radio issue, that committee would ultimately be reporting to me first. I would share the information with the school board, but the city council has full authority over the committee and the position.
But would the media, what do we call the committee now, Mary?
Community Media Committee.
The Community Media Committee?
Yes.
Reports to the city.
They
Right,
report
but-
to the city, it's the city committee.
Yeah,
It's strictly
has nothing
advisory.
to do with the school district.
Yeah.
The school district
committee?
is just
Okay.
contracting for the
Okay.
services.
All right, I just don't want to, I want to make sure that we don't have some meddling with the FCC rules that are specific to Monona.
No.
Okay, so everyone on that committee is actually on behalf of the city, okay.
They report to the council, advisory group to the council.
Okay.
So can we act on this tonight?
You can, yes.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
I'll second.
There's a motion and second, suspend the rules, take this item out of order. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor to suspend the rules, take that item out of order, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion second. Discussion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The name change is official. Is there any miscellaneous business that anyone would like to bring forth this evening? Seeing none. Item I, reports of committees, commissions, boards. First, we do have a report from Leah Kimmel, Director of Administrative Services. Leah, welcome.
Thank you, Will. I know it's been a long night for you guys, so I think I've got this down to about 70
night,
minutes
and
or so.
it's before 9 o'clock.
70 minutes, I think, should be good. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's great.
projector?
Yeah, that's what he's doing back there, too.
Okay.
See if that works.
While we're waiting for that to come up, why don't we do report outs? Alder Holmquist, you have anything to report?
No report.
No
Alder
report.
Thomas? Alder Bussey?
No report, but just a thank you to Jake and his team for the weekend, and to everybody involved. I think it was a new effort, the combination with the chili cook-off and the businessmen's, and outside of the weather on Saturday, it was they're a hardy bunch in Monona. They come out anyway, so it was a great time, and thanks to all the staff and efforts to put in. Thanks.
Understatement. It was, I don't know if we can venture a guess, but I think it was equal to last year's number, just spread over much greater area this year. And so we can talk about that more. Alder O'Connor?
A couple things coming up. The Low Power FM Subcommittee is meeting on Wednesday they're planning the actual building of the radio station, so this more discussion about that. The Community Media Committee will meet on Thursday at 6, and Sustainability meets next Thursday at 6:30 on the 16th.
Alder Spate?
I just want to mention that the Transit Commission will be looking for a new member because of the resignation of Matt Aro.
Oh.
And then I also just want to back up what Alder Bussey said about a great weekend. I think the idea of bringing all of those events together into one big festive weekend was a great idea. I think for a lot of us, we attended some events that maybe we hadn't attended in the past. I think it completely wiped out the pie event on short. I mean, by an hour into that event, everything was sold and gone. So I think that might bode well for events like that in the future. So well done.
Alder Wood?
No report.
City Clerk?
Remember that you now need to proof residence when you register to vote, so you can register to vote easily. You can provide proof of residence through email, fax, show up, come to City Hall. It needs to have your current address. If you want to vote absentee, you can request an absentee ballot, but you also need to provide with that is the photo ID. So please, if you're going to request a ballot be mailed to you, please provide photo ID.
And I would like to commend the city clerk's office that I've had one meeting specifically with Joan about really making sure, because we have such a substantial senior population here, and then I've heard some concerns at the farmers market about, will people be able to vote? Joan has gone way beyond, I think, what most cities are doing. This week at the Fall Festival, yesterday at the Fall Festival, there was a booth the entire time for registrations. She has printed materials out. She's going out into the fields to one of the senior centers. And I think we're doing everything within our abilities within the city. So I do want to thank you for going above and beyond the call. City Administrator?
Just one small item that hasn't been covered. Actually, it's a fairly large item. October 20th, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the police department has requested that all staff and city-affiliated individuals wear pink. It'll be Wear Pink Day on October 20th, so that would be our next council meeting. And we have a bunch of staff meetings that day too, so remember your pink on the 20th.
Perfect. Oh, Alder Spate, excuse me.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question about showing photo ID at the polls, and I don't know if we know the answer to this, but I, like maybe many citizens, have a driver's license with an old address on it. It no longer my photo ID doesn't match my current address of residence. Do I need to be concerned?
Nope.
May I respond?
Yep, please.
Your photo ID does not have to have your current address on it. It is not proof of residence. It's only a picture to compare with you standing there in front. So your photo ID does not have to have your current address.
Thank you.
But you can prove residency through your MG&E bill,
Yes,
which
MG&E.
doesn't have a photo. So an old driver's license with an MG&E bill gets you.
Gets you registered and voting. Yes.
Quite confusing.
It is confusing, but we can do it.
All right, we can do it. The only thing I have is just to pile on to what a special weekend it was in spite of the weather and the sleet for the Hoot Hoot Hustle Saturday morning. Got pretty cool, but that was kind of the low point. But even there, I think they matched their previous attendance. All kinds of records were set. Just, I think, walk-up traffic for all events this weekend probably was, for those who planned on coming, they came, and those who on a whim. But it was an incredible event. I imagine in years to come, again, what Alder Spade said, the pie party just got hammered. Because we kept announcing there was cross-pollination between all the events, and I think we even picked some people up at Aldo Leopold for the Pipers in the Prairie Saturday night who were at the chili cook-off. So I think this is the Parks and Jake's vision for the future, but I could see doing things with the hotels. I mean, I think this event is getting to the point where it could be a destination weekend to come in, and hopefully it will be, because I'm one tired camper after the last 48 hours, and there's a lot to do in Monona. So again, Jake and everyone else who volunteered and did everything, it was great. That's all I have. Leah, are we good to go?
Good to go.
Blast off.
Okay. I'd like to divide this presentation into 3 sections tonight for you. Whoops. First, what is it that you pay me to do every day? Second, I just want to give you... You do pay me.
Oh, I thought this was a volunteer.
I'd like to give you a profile of what our current staff looks like. And then third, we're 9 months into our new mymonona.com, so I have some statistics that I want to share with you for our website. Okay, first, what you pay me to do. I do all the human resources for all the departments in the city, and that includes all of our benefits administration, personnel files, all of our administration of FMLA and workers' compensation claims, labor negotiations, and then I also work individually with each of the department heads when they need to hire someone, and we have a recruiting process. And some of you may know that we use an online job application system called NeoGov. If you haven't seen it, it is iframed right into our website. So if you are a job applicant, you go to our website and you click on employment opportunities, and it takes you a page that looks like this. And all of the current job openings are listed at the bottom. You just click on the job opening you're interested in. It takes you to a page that looks like this, that lists all the job details of the job, all the qualifications, requirements, job description. And then if you want to go ahead and apply for that job, you can just click on that Apply tab. And then it's going to take you into a whole online job application process. You can upload a resume, cover letter, reference letters, certificates, licenses, anything to that job application. You hit submit, and it all gets submitted to our side of the site. So it's been a great time and resource savings for us. There is never anything that we have to print out if we don't want to. We can do everything online through the system. We can contact all applicants by email through the system. So if I, for instance, want to email 10 applicants and say thank you for your application, and we're looking at these days to schedule interviews, it's literally clicking on their names and hitting send email, and it's just saved me 2 hours of work and mailing letters to people. We can also have job applicants sign up for interviews right online. So we go ahead and populate what we have in terms of times for interviews, send an email to the applicant with a link. They click on that link, choose the time that they want, and they're scheduled for their interview. So there's no phone calls, there's no letters, there's no phone tag in scheduling interviews. So it's been a huge time savings for us. So that's NeoGov. I also administer our monthly payroll, so that's anywhere from 100 to 200 paychecks every 2 weeks. We have also administered sort of a new time-saving option in terms of our payroll system. It's a web-based time clock system that we use with all of our seasonal employees and all of our hourly employees, and our public works staff is on that as well. Excuse me. This is what it looks like. It's called Sundial Desk Punch. I literally just load the application onto the computer we need to have employees clock in and out of. They click on their name, enter their password, and punch in and out through this computer. The supervisor can go into the back end, they can look at the time cards, they can adjust anything. If an employee can type a note that says, oops, sorry, I forgot to punch in, I was here at X amount of time, they can go in and adjust that. Yes, Bob?
What departments are using this?
All of our seasonal staff uses this, all of
Jake
Jake's
uses
staff, our library employees use this, and our public works staff uses this.
So there's
pretty much
50-plus people
Yeah,
on
pretty
this.
much everyone who punches in and out is using this system right now. It has a pretty nice, robust report feature, so the supervisors go in on their end, they approve all the time cards, I go in, I see that they're approved, I run a report, and that's how I know what to pay everybody.
How did this use, a year ago, how was this done?
2 years ago, it was all paper. It was people writing down the amount of hours they worked on a day. It was somebody sitting down and adding up all those hours and
Jake
multiplying it
forgetting to
times
turn
their
in
rate.
timesheets.
Pardon?
Jake forgetting to turn in
Yeah, I mean,
timesheets.
that was a problem, especially when you have seasonal and hourly employees. They may forget to turn in their timesheet and then not be scheduled for another week, and suddenly we've missed paying that person for 2 weeks.
Good.
So it definitely helps with that as well. A third time-saving and resource-saving option that we've implemented is called Schedule Anywhere. Actually, Chief Ostrenga was the first one to start using Schedule Anywhere with his police staff. It's a way to schedule employees, schedule all of their shifts, all of their overtime. Everything can be done online through the schedule system. And then Chief Sullivan started using it for the fire department. That's actually the fire department schedule that you see up there. And now we've implemented it across the board to all city staff. And those staff that are salaried and have a standard schedule, we don't necessarily put a schedule in for them. However, they do use it to request time off. So if I, say I want to take a week of vacation in November, I click on the little requests tab up there on Schedule Anywhere. I type in the days that I want to take vacation. I hit submit. It automatically gets submitted to my supervisor, who's Pat. He approves it, and then it's automatically placed on the schedule.
Where do I find the city administrator's vacation schedule?
He's on there. He's on there.
Can I have access? And you approve it.
And 2 years ago, this all used to be done on paper as well. Someone would, submit a time off request on paper to their supervisor would approve it, it would come to me. I would have to keep track of all that paperwork and have binders of calendars for every employee. Now, this too has some great reporting features. I just select, I want to see all the time off that this person has taken this year, and I have a report of all their scheduled days.
Are each of these components of a larger software package?
No.
Or are they each individual?
They're all each individual, and we pay for them. There's no software purchase that was made. This is all cloud-based online stuff, so we pay a fee per user, a monthly fee per user.
User being you being one user?
No,
or
being
the 40
the employees
timesheet?
that are on using the system.
Okay. So each of the hourly employees counts as a user?
Correct. And we only pay the fee for people who have time in that month. So, for instance, we have 75 seasonal Park and Rec employees. We don't pay for those kids when they're not working 6 months out of the year or 9 months out of the year. Okay. And then other aspects of my job, I do a lot of administration on our website, just trying to keep that up to date, sending notices, keeping people informed. I help edit our city newsletter along with Jake and his department. I prepare all of your packet agendas and packets for your council and finance meetings, as well as resolutions, ordinances, and proclamations. I keep our city code updated. I maintain all of our contract and insurance files. I work with Mark to compile all our budget documents, and I work with our IT consultant. Okay, so that's what I do. Let's get to the good stuff now. So what does our current staff look like in the city of Monona? We currently have 60 full-time employees, 11 permanent part-time employees, and then approximately another 100 hourly and seasonal employees. So our police and dispatch department is the biggest department in the city. They comprise 35% of our total staff. Now that 100 hourly part-time and seasonal employees, when we add those in there, that changes things quite a bit. During June and July of every year, 45% of the paychecks that I'm printing every 2 weeks are to our park and rec staff members and the kids who lifeguard at our pool and work at our pool in our parks. When we look at, yes?
Sorry, I know that the volunteers are not included in this paid. How many volunteers are part of it?
I believe Scott has approximately 20.
21 volunteer firefighters.
Mm-hmm. The library also has some volunteers. I'm not sure what their numbers are of volunteers at the library. Not quite that many. In terms of our management staff, yes.
Are we counted as employees?
I did not count you, no.
Okay.
In terms of our management staff, this is what our current group of department heads looks like. It's a pretty even split between newer department heads who've been here for less than 5 years, and then those who've been here up to 15 years. We currently have no department heads who have been here for longer than 15 years. Does anybody want to guess who our longest serving department head is? Any guesses?
You know the answer.
Diane?
Diane. Diane's been here for about 13 years. And then next actually is
Joan.
Wally's right up there, Joan and Mark Otaker. When we look at our staff as a whole, I was actually a little surprised to see that our current entire full-time and permanent part-time staff, that 71 employees, 42% of them have been here for less than 5 years. And there is kind of a good reason for that. We've actually seen a lot of retirements in several of our departments over the last 4 and 5 years. One of those being our Public Works Department. 4 years ago, in the fall of 2010, 67% of our Public Works staff had been here for more than 20 years. This fall, it's completely switched, and 60% of our Public Works staff has now been here for less than 5 years. Same thing with Scott's staff on the fire and EMS staff. 3 years ago, half the staff had been here more than 20 years, and today we now have 2/3 of our staff here less than 5 years in that department. And then Wally's department, a similar situation. Over the last 2 years, 30% of his staff had been here for 20 or more years, and now we've seen a big switch in that as well. Okay, and on to the third component, the website. So if anybody out there is watching and you haven't visited our website, I encourage you to do so. This is what it looks like. We went live with this website about the 3rd week of January, so we've been going for about 9 months. So here are some statistics. Monthly visits to mymonona.com. It took full months between February 1st and September 1st. And you can see that we have a good track of visits that is increasing steadily. Very much peaked during the summer, which I think is good to know that we have a lot of programs, a lot of stuff going on in the summer, and people are accessing our website for information about that. So I think that's a good indication. And we're not seeing a huge drop-off after the summer either, which I think is a good indication that people are finding the website useful and coming back to it.
Because everyone was looking for park shelters, and now Jake's built enough so that they don't need to look anymore.
Perhaps. This graphic I thought was very interesting. This is daily visits to mymonona.com. And if you look, you see all those little double dots on the bottom. Those are actually visits on Saturdays and Sundays. So the least amount of people are visiting our website on Saturdays and Sundays, and the most amount of people are visiting on Mondays generally. So department heads, if you want to post something on the website, Monday would be a good day. You're going to get the most visits.
So is the website reporting this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you didn't have to go and put these little dots.
No,
on
the
there.
website.
Okay.
No, I can print these reports out of the website, which is wonderful.
Wow, that's
yeah.
That's great.
You can see a couple of spikes there in our visits. The 2 most visited days in this time period were Monday, February 10th, with 1,200 visits that day, and Monday, June 16th, with a little over 1,000 visits. Anybody have any clues on what those days might have been?
Oh.
Election?
Nope, not election. Monday, June 16th was the first day of all of our summer programs, swimming lessons, all of Jake's camps and recreation programs. So people visiting the site that day.
The water main freezes?
The Monday, February 10th day was the day that we put out the emergency alert to run your water because it was so cold and we were seeing water laterals. So, and we specifically drove people to our website for that information. We issued a press release, we issued an alert through the website, and we told people to go to the website, and we had a lot of people visiting our website that day, so it's good to see.
Do we know any of this information historically? That
We don't. So emergency alerts, we have that ability on our website. Residents can log in and they can sign up to be alerted whenever we issue an emergency alert to residents. We try only to use emergency alerts for actual true emergencies. So over the past 9 months, we've issued 3 emergency alerts. The first was for a pretty large water main break back in January or February, I think. The second one was the advisory for residents to run their water. And then the third one was just last month, we had to run an alert because our phones got hit by lightning and we're out for a couple hours. Besides the emergency alerts though, people can also just sign up for notify me categories. So all of these categories that you see listed here are categories that people can sign up to receive notifications and news about. And depending on the category, we have anywhere from 18 to over 200 subscribers for each of those categories. And we tend to use those categories quite a bit. Jake uses his recreation and pool cancellation categories all the time to let people know when there are weather cancellations or things like that with his events. We always send out the brush collection schedule to people who sign up for that to remind them of when their schedule is. Anytime we need any trash or recycling changes, we'll send that out. So,
have there been a consideration for some of those that are done by zones? Have people sign up by zone?
I suppose we could do that. They would have to know what zone they were in, I guess, to sign it up. So,
well, to sign up would be one problem, but even when you get it, if it isn't delineated by zone.
right. So what I do now is just send it out, in advance of the first pickup, and then say, if you don't know what district you're in, here's the link at our website. Yeah. Okay, I was interested to see when people go to our website, are they downloading things, and what are they downloading? And the #1 most downloaded thing from the website really surprised me. I don't think you're going to guess what it is. We issued a map of no parking areas for the rhythm and booms, and it was downloaded almost 800 times off the website this summer. Second most downloaded thing are...
We had a pretty boring night.
Yeah. Summer and fall guide and newsletter was the second most downloaded item. People are downloading our municipal code of ordinances, or at least parts of it.
75% of that is me.
Bus schedule, Monona Express schedule, 4th most downloaded item. Building permit applications, brush collection map. We have a listing of brush collection districts by street, so if you don't want to look at a map, you can just look at what street you're in and see what district you're in. The police department has a document that they put on the website that asks people if they can identify crime suspects, and they have pictures of crime suspects, so people are downloading that. And then their dog and cat license applications they're downloading. And then I also wanted to see, what are visitors searching for? What are they typing into that search bar on our website? #1, most searched words, jobs or employment. And #2 was pool. But we also see egg hunt on there, which is kind of interesting. Link Cat, which is the library, South Central Library Systems computer. And then brush, hours, and assessor. And one thing I think that I've sort of can deduce from this is maybe visitors are searching for these things because they can't find them super easily on the front page of our site. So it might be something for us to look at as we go into next season. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
That's awesome. Thank you. Questions?
So people aren't downloading the council agendas.
Isn't that crazy, Chad? But no, they are not. They're all
There's 8 downloads every second week.
Right.
And we're all at the table. Thank you, that was excellent. And thank you for all you do, because I know you wear a lot of hats.
Enjoy it.
You're very responsive, and I appreciate that, as we all do. I didn't ask if the department, yep. Jake?
Oh, sorry, Jake.
He's mad because it wasn't Parks
Well,
registration.
as long as I'm here, I just want to say how appreciative I am of Leah Kimmel and what she does for our department. She is absolutely amazing, from HR issues to practical advice on how to handle situations, to all those things that she talked about as far as the innovations in time management, software. Those were all her ideas, and she really is a true asset to the city, and we're very lucky to have her. She lives in Monona. She brings a lot of experience and background on, living here and having kids here, growing up here. And guess what? She started in Park and Rec back in 2007, and just before I got hired, Administrator Marsh, in his infinite wisdom, stole her away from the department. So I'm always a little sore that I didn't get to.
Or she could have maybe been director of the department.
That's
so.
true. I think she could,
See, Jake,
handle
there's
it.
always room for improvement.
That's right.
You can come over to the dark side.
Oh, I like our area in the community center. I just want to reiterate on our fall festival weekend. It took an army of full-time staff, part-time staff, seasonal staff, volunteers, sponsors to really pull this thing off. So I think virtually everyone in the city had a hand in one way or another, from helping out, providing logistic support, and it's really another way that Monona shows up and does their part in making this an awesome place to live, work, and play. So stay tuned for bigger and better things coming from the department, and other than that, that's all I have for tonight.
Chief Sullivan? Well,
And I just
I'll do
wanted
it,
to
Benny.
say, I couldn't believe that with all Jake and Missy had to do, they also won second place in the chili cook-off.
That's right.
True.
Yeah.
I may have to bring samples in for.
I was going to say, I want some of that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Just a couple quick things. I would echo what Jake said about Leah. She, pretty much any question we have, if she doesn't have the answer right away, she'll have it to you very, very quickly. I mean, she does a phenomenal job at coming in new. Any questions I had, go to Leah, and she takes care of it. So she does a great job. The other thing I wanted to mention is this week is Fire Prevention Week, the 5th through the 11th. This year's slogan is "Working Smoke Detectors Save Lives, Test Yours Every Month." And this coming Sunday, we have open house from noon to 3 at the fire station. So come on down. We'll have antique fire truck rides. We've got the fire extinguisher demo where you actually get to put out live fire. We'll have food and demonstrations throughout. We'll have all the trucks set up. We'll have gear that people can try on. So come on down and enjoy some fun at the fire station. So
Is that always the same week, Chief?
Yep.
Okay, because boy, the weather was gorgeous last year for that.
yes, and we're hoping it'll be nice again this year.
I
It's
hope
supposed to be
you're
in the high 60s.
Is it?
We just
Okay.
gotta watch out for the rain. So
It was cold Saturday. It was awful.
thank you.
Chief, what do you think about Leah?
She's wonderful.
She's wonderful. Anything else you'd like to add? No? All right. Anything? Yes, although.
Sorry to keep adding things, but it just occurred to me when you said the open house was Sunday was the Friends of the Library book sales this weekend. So Friends members from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning, and everybody else from 10 to 4 Saturday, and then it's $5 for a bag full from 1 to 3 on Sunday.
Thank you. Seeing no other announcements, appointments, we have Jim Diedrich to the Facilities Committee, Jim Byer to the Facilities Committee, Jennifer Fonner to, I'm sorry?
Yes, it is Fowler, yeah.
Fonner to the Library Board, And Sustainability Committee is Suzanne Wade, Leslie Bussey, Pat Howell, Sue Vogt, and Peter McKeever. Is there a motion for approval of these appointments? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The appointments are approved. And is there a motion for adjournment?
Move adjournment. Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Bob, I think we could sign the Tellurian one because the amendment's on the attachment. We'll make sure the attachment is amended.
Okay, I wonder how that's gonna go. It was true, she did bring that up, so.
Well, and I do remember Bill saying something to me about that.
I have it in my calendar.
But he didn't give me any